broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Subaru of Gwinnett. You'll love the difference. The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. It is Monday. Tug and Los until 10. Jure is at the con. And I'm glad that you're here. 447-441-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms.
Every now and then we get one of those shows. Now, in this line of work, almost every show there's something to it where you go, wow, that was interesting. Let's talk about this. We have so much to get into over a 72-hour span. Like, I brought a knife and fork with me. Like, I'm ready to eat. Like, let's go.
Get in there. Get ready to carve it up. It was
it was a wild 72 hours.
It all started with the her
Friday evening.
Yeah, Friday evening. The tapes dropped, or somebody leaked it, or whatever. Her tapes are out.
Axios had it. A couple other handful. The Biden deposition tapes from October of 2023.
Robert Hur asking him questions, and he did not have good answers. He mumbled. I remember the one that stood out to me the most was Robert Hur was asking about the top secret, the sensitive documents that
he asked
Joe
him
Biden,
about how they came into his possession.
And he was like, well, they had to be, when was I vice president? And one of his...
Very meandering at that point.
Oh, my gosh. One of his helpers, one of his people that work for him was like, well, that would have been 2017.
Right. He's got his attorney there with him.
Exactly. And he was like, well, that must have been it. That had to be it. But it was just like you're saying. It was meandering. It was confusing. And that was the kickoff to everything.
I did listen to the entirety of it because Miranda Devine did get that out there. And I will tell you, there are portions that were selected on Friday night that make him sound completely awful. There are parts where he sounds a lot more with it with what he's talking about. And clearly, those were areas where they were not probing into criminality.
Right, absolutely. Because when you're not, you can just say. You
got to just talk about what you want to talk about.
Exactly right. But when they're asking about things that you're scared that you're going to be in trouble for, what do?
But so the story on Friday... what so much of the media, especially on our side, was running with was, wow, he sounds awful, and that's 100% true. But what we were missing was that the Justice Department, knowing how he sounded, decided, well, he's committed crimes. There's no way he should have these documents. Let's craft a narrative that he's too old.
How about
that? To
make
it go away. So that was the Friday into Saturday wrapping paper of what we had.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember when we were talking about that stuff? We're like, wait a minute. You're just saying he's too old to prosecute? You're saying we've gone after Nazis, which we should have, all over the world since World War II, still to this day go after them. But we're not going to go after this guy?
Now, understand for the audience, and you're getting a real treat at 6:06, because you're not going to get this from anybody else for at least about 48 hours. And then when they do, I'm not going to get any credit, and that's fine. Robert Hur is in on as much as anybody. They played a game on everyone, which was, Robert Hur, look, it's partisan. He's just trying to be the bad guy. Look how he said that he's too old. They all knew, including Robert Hur, this is the best way to cover the fact that he committed crimes. The same ones that were trying to persecute and prosecute Donald Trump over.
Yeah.
He actually did them.
Yeah.
He actually couldn't explain how he had documents that even as vice president, he had no right to have.
That's exactly right.
At least Donald Trump, if you want to go to his Mar-a-Lago documents, as president, he could at any point just say, I've declassified these documents.
And
that's it. And that's all.
By just saying it, could. That's the law. He can say this is unclassified, and it is.
So the old argument was what was the cover back in that time when that came out in February of 2024. The old argument, Robert Hur, I can't believe he went with that. The meantime, they're going like, and about that whole felonies thing, let's make sure we push that aside since we're going after Donald Trump with it. What we didn't know was that we would go well beyond dementia within 48 hours from Saturday and Friday.
Kidding. And now the cancer diagnosis, and of course David Axelrod was like, He said what you said was coming, which was good. We were texting back and forth about it. He was like, well, now...
Oh, by the way, this is hours before Axelrod comes out. I'm like, here's what's going to happen.
And what did he do? He comes out and said, well, this will probably slow down the conversation about Joe Biden's mental acuity. Nobody wants to talk about that now. we need to just let that go away. We just need to let that rest a while. He's battling cancer.
How evil are these people? That their response to what's going to be Tapper's book, you're going to have that spelling out all the stuff. Because remember, right now only media members have been able to get a hold of it. Mm-hmm. It's going to hit the general public. The rest of America is going to read about how bad that Joe Biden was during his 4 years and even leading up. It goes back as far as 2017.
That's
about
right.
how his brain was mush. What was not covered in there and what we're starting to get more of. When you hear from doctors talk about his form of cancer, they will tell you that given the best care in the world and the amount of checks that are on an American president, they knew he had cancer too.
That's right. There was no question about it. They've known it his entire term.
So a man who was put forth to you in the most craziness of 2020 had the early portions of dementia that had started in 2017, more than likely had a cancer diagnosis that's been running for the better part of 5 to 10 years if you're listening to other cancer doctors that just believe metastasized recently.
Nicole Sapphires, who I've been watching a little bit because she's brilliant, she said the same thing.
And he just so happened to win the most statistically improbable election after 3 o'clock in the morning back in November of 2020. Like, you're supposed to believe all these things. And if you happen to bring it up or complain about it, then you had the federal government go after you, jail you,
knock on your door,
and come after you.
No doubt. And there's
it's Banana Republic.
There's the people that we know are guilty. The people that we know knew what was happening, and they're all political figures. But the people that are not being talked about much are the president's doctors, like, I don't know, President Dr. Ronnie Jackson back in 2018 when he said, man, this man is physically fit, looking good. And it happened that same way every year. Even last year, 2024, fit bill of health. Everything is good. They lied to you for 4 years. Not just the politicians, though. The doctors lied to you as well.
It was one giant cabal, all in the interest of power and all in the interest of protecting power. I get it if you want to say, well, listen, the doctors, they're supposed to keep stuff under wraps. You know who actually got to the information? Once again, it's crazy how she does it. Lauren Loomer. Loomer told you last year. She was the one, and we went with it as well, when he had the medical emergency in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And she said, this is all part of a terminal diagnosis that he has. He'll be here for about a year. And everyone's like, what? I don't know about that.
They beat her senseless.
Yeah, I didn't go as far, but I believed her with the medical diagnosis, with the emergency situation in Las Vegas, because the timeline
That's right.
all matched up. What we have talked about for years on this radio program, obviously the 10 to 4 window that Joe Biden has been functional. But one of the things we've also brought up was that look at the trips to Delaware on a regular basis, part of on the presidential schedule. And I always made the point, the reason why that's happening is because that keeps the doctors that are coming into the White House, they don't have to check in.
Nobody's logging in.
So nobody knows what's happening in Delaware. And we assumed it was treatment for dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever.
Probably was.
Probably was cancer.
And probably cancer,
Probably
too.
so. The timeline now speaks to this. From the start of his administration, this is not something that just occurred. This is all timed out to try and give him some cover before some really bad stuff comes out and it makes the Democrats look even worse. Which, by the way, does anyone look worse than Jill Biden today?
No.
What a witch hag of a wife, man.
That woman is power hungry.
You did great, Joe. You answered all the questions.
That woman, if I were married to her, I would. You have to think that even Joe knows she's pushing him when he can't do it. She's pushing. You know what I'm saying? She's taking a man who has dementia and cancer and pushing him to continue. Not to go back home to Delaware with and live out the rest of his life quietly and having some dignity. No, we're going to push him in front of everyone, have him fall off of bicycles, have him trip at the Air Force Academy in front of the nation and the world.
And then, even after he's done, you marched his happy ass out onto the View to do it some more.
Oh, yeah.
With you sitting right there.
And the BBC.
Like, at what point do you say this piñata is done? Because I don't even look at this as, oh, Joe Biden, we got him. No. We've talked about this on this radio program, that Joe, what he needs to have is, regardless if you happen to take his 40 years in the Senate and say, he didn't really accomplish a lot regardless. He was a public servant for 40 years. Might have enriched himself a bit.
Oh,
okay.
Or a lot.
But with all this being said, all right, he's also a former president, albeit one of the weirdest elections in 2020 ever. Got 81 million votes. How does that feel about this moment? With that all pointed out, there's never a point where we've ever been like, man, I hope that he dies.
No,
or I hope that he feels
that's what the left does.
We've talked about him going back to his home and getting to sit on the beach for the remainder of his life and chilling.
Right.
That's what we've said for a guy who's suffering in the way that he is. What this is an admonishment of what happens when people desire power so incredibly much. Just like the founding fathers told us would happen. Look what they did to lie to the American people and to hold on to it. They actually had a man with cancer and with dementia and with probably Alzheimer's and was marching him out there like it was no problem.
And look at the depths they went to do it.
Yes. How much they lied to you.
And all the scams that they pulled to make it happen. All of the conspiracy to make it all happen. It should knock you out this morning that we're talking about this, because it all happened in your lifetime.
Right in front of you with
exactly right.
With the most powerful man in the world.
Dude, this is up there with the killing of JFK. This is up there.
It's a monster scandal.
This is every single person needs to be drugged in front of Congress under oath. Jill Biden, James, every stinking one of them. Every person that was involved in the federal government, involved in the White House, Jen Psaki, Binder, all of them, everybody needs to go under oath in front of Congress and testify, and then let the cards fall where they may. Now, do I think, here's the problem, does Congress do anything about it even when they do? The answer is probably no.
I give Newt Gingrich a lot of credit on this, because this was next level thinking yesterday, and I went, ooh, depend on Newt. This man comes through.
Always does.
Newt Gingrich pointed out, former Speaker of the House, for somebody who was suffering from cancer, from dementia, who was having the health problems that he did, on his final day, he signed 2,490 basically pardons.
No, he didn't. The auto pen did.
No,
somebody did.
So
he didn't.
And I thought this was incredibly genius, because there was a part of me that when I was thinking about it last night, I give credit to redheaded libertarian, good old Josie, who made this point. You can always catch her with Tim Cast and the work that she does. You know, a constitutional scholar, really interesting person. That when you start talking about democracy and the republic, she's really awesome at that. All right, so she pointed this out, and I went, "That's a nail right there." So it seems the deep state took a career politician with dementia and cancer, staged a riot to certify his mathematically improbable election, arrested anyone who contested it, sanctioned an invasion, weaponized the courts, silenced speech, and turned the U.S. into Sodom and Gomorrah. And the last part that she didn't have in here, and pardoned themselves on the way out.
That's exactly right. And if you notice, you talk about the pardons. I had seen on Twitter someone breaking down the pictures of the pardons that had been shared.
All the same. Perfectly the same.
Except one. That would be Hunter's. The only one that's different is Hunter's. And the only other signature is when Joe Biden decided to bow out of the race. Oh, right.
The only two times we have during the time period where we can say this looks more along the lines of what it's supposed to. It is not auto pen like the rest of these. What a scandal.
You just lived through the biggest scandal in American history. It used to be JFK. It used to be Richard Nixon. Those pale in comparison to what just happened in the last 4 years.
If we make the argument that the deep state at some point took out an American president like JFK, and regardless of who ended up doing it, if it's a lone gunman, still huge controversy.
Without a doubt.
This was actually the deep state and the left that decided to consolidate power, to use a man as a figurehead, and then to run the government under him without any accountability, because none of them were elected. And just kept him out there. And this was not a situation where you had somebody where you went, man, he's bright, he's sharp, and he's with it. That was the lie they had to tell you to keep the ruse up. In reality, he was a cancer patient. And also suffering from some sort of mental, a lack of having his regular mental faculties.
So the cancer, the dementia diagnosis was known. Every one of those journalists knew it. They all knew it. Every one of them, and said nothing. She said they said not a word about it. I'm curious as to how many knew about the cancer diagnosis, because that one never really. There's no reason for us to know about it. There's no reason. There's nothing that would show up like him not being able to speak. I'm still curious as to how many people knew that too and didn't report it.
Well, you and Jerry brought this up yesterday on our text chain, because once this thing popped off, like we were kind of sharing some stuff during the weekend. Once this thing got rolling, because this is how I knew it was weird. So Saturday night we had some of our old neighbors over. And we're all sitting out on the back patio, enjoying some drinks, and the whole Biden conversation came up over the audio. And one of the people who's sitting at the table, who's not political at all, goes, yeah, they found something on it. They're going to diagnose it with cancer in the next 24 hours.
Wow.
And I went, really?
Interesting.
As I'm the one who goes like, I think that I kind of pay attention to this, and I start scrolling through like my doomsday area Twitter. I'm like, I don't really see anything in here. And so this was talked about from inner circle, like the whole Reddit world knew this was coming.
Wow.
Including, by the way, she's a woman. Again, congrats. Thank y'all for following this stuff hard. She was the one who brought it up. We all looked around. So by the time it dropped and you sent the text at 5 o'clock, I was like, yeah, this has already been out here for like 30 minutes, but how did she know it the day before?
I have no idea, man. She's following some great Twitter accounts or something.
But that's where the discussion had already been out there.
It's freaking crazy.
Wild.
It's absolutely nuts. We have lived through the biggest scandal in American history, and it's not even close. It's not even close. And you were fed lies, and you were fed propaganda, and you were dared to question it. Now you can. In Trump's America, you're able to question. In Trump's America, you're able to say, this is bullcrap.
This don't smell right.
This don't smell right. When we continue on Extra 106.3, if you're an American, you can still be deported, says the mainstream media. Next on Extra.
Neil Boortz is only live on Extra 106.3, bringing you daily commentary on the biggest topics of the day. Catch him throughout the day or hear his latest on the Extra 106.3 app.
Hey, it's Tug for Central Heating and Air Conditioning. Do yourself a favor as we get the heat cranked up in Atlanta, and yesterday it started. Yesterday it was a bit toasty out at our little cookout. Having to ease back into the house, cool off a little bit, get yourself a nice cold drink. Make sure that your HVAC units are ready to handle this Georgia heat by partnering with Central Heating and Air Conditioning. Chuck and his team, second generation, locally owned HVAC company in Atlanta. They're doing Christmas in July for the 5th year, and this time it benefits Skyland Trail. They are a great organization that helps people on their mental health journey, their mental health battles, their struggles, to get them evidence-based help. The best help that you can possibly get. And Chuck has said, you know what? Those are the people I want to help this year. So when you sign up for a maintenance agreement, $10 from each one of them goes to Skyland Trail, helping yourself stay cool all summer in this Georgia heat and helping folks on that mental health battle that they have. You call them 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com, 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. They are your Atlanta carrier experts.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, cpapsetc.com.
Hey, this is Tom from The Honest Car Guy. We help you buy your next pre-owned car or truck honestly. We guarantee each vehicle we sell will come with a copy of the bill of sale, showing what we paid for it. You pay what we pay, plus an honest fee. Guaranteed. Honesty is the best policy, and we guarantee it. Finally, a pre-owned car and truck buying process that you can trust.
Get an honest car buy from the Honest Car Guy. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1, or visit honestcarguy.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
Hundreds of volunteers from Michigan who formed a human chain to help move books from one store location to another makes today's Dean's List. On moving day, owner of Serendipity Books, Michelle Tuplin, realized she needed help packing and sorting over 9,000 books and getting them to the new location just down the street. So she decided to take her predicament to social media, calling for volunteers to help with this very big task. Little did she know that over 300 people decided to show up and get to work. And that's when Michelle thought about setting up a human chain and having people pass books to one another down the street, which thankfully was just 350 feet away. In just 2 hours, the entire book collection was moved and stocked and put into alphabetical order. Michelle posted her thanks on Instagram, with others leaving comments about how wonderful the book brigade came together and how maybe someone should write a book about it. Janice Dean, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Cobb County School Board approved a $1.8 billion budget, with Superintendent Chris Ragsdale describing it as tighter than usual. Some budget concerns were raised about maintenance of the school district's buses and over 1,000 county vehicles. The biolab facility that caught fire last September and led to shelter-in-place orders will not reopen as cleanup efforts continue. The Pool Chemical Company says they will not restart production but will continue to operate their distribution center. Biolab faces a number of lawsuits and was fined $60,000 by OSHA. And a beloved gas station chain is getting 2 more Georgia locations for your vacation drives. Buc-ee's will open the new locations in Brunswick near St. Simon's Island and another near Macon. Today's weather, partly cloudy and muggy today. Temperatures reaching the upper 80s with a possibility of scattered showers throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
This may be the dumbest lib boomer protesting talking point that you will hear all day. And I saw this video yesterday, and I was so glad when I saw that Los had put it in our show notes. Because I saw it way after, like in the evening. I'm watching the South Carolina LSU college baseball game. Carolina walks it off, just watching baseball with my son, which is my favorite thing to do, listening to Led Zeppelin, strangely enough. And it's later in the evening, and I see this, and I'm like, oh, my goodness.
So this is Savannah Hernandez. Now, Savannah Hernandez is, she's just an American woman. I would also say attractive young lady.
Yeah, for sure.
She's doing her thing. She's got a following. And so you can always, kind of see her with Turning Point USA. That's who she ends up doing her thing with. And so Savannah Hernandez decides, I'm going to go down to one of these protests and I'm going to put a mic in front of one of these boomers. And let's see exactly what they're protesting. Now, in this case, this is outside of the facility that got stormed by the congressman. And so here's now a protester. Let's go talk to this person. Take a listen, because this is how the left views people. If they can't put them in a box, they will not have any use for them. But once they put them in a box, now they apply their left logic to it. take a listen to this one woman. I would say probably 65, 60,
yep.
somewhere right around in there.
Right there somewhere.
Savannah goes up to her with a microphone, clearly, and decides to ask her some questions.
They'll take you, too. They don't really care.
Why do you think they're going to take me, too?
Because you have brown skin.
That's pretty racist. I'm an American citizen.
Doesn't matter.
So you think I'm going to get deported?
You could.
So this woman right here thinks I'm going to get deported because I'm a brown woman. That's an extremely racist thing to say, ma'am.
No, the racist people are...
No, you're the racist because you just came up to me and said I'm going to get deported because I'm brown. How dare you? How dare you sit here and speak to me because of my skin tone? No, I don't need to be careful. Guess what? I voted for Donald Trump because he's a president of law and order, and I've actually met him. He's very nice. And it's racist like you who stand here and tell me that I'm going to get deported because I'm brown. How dare you? This is the average white liberal right here. How dare you?
How dare I?
Yes, how dare you?
How dare I?
So you're coming up here and you're telling me that I'm going to get deported because I'm brown.
Mass deportation. You're supporting mass deportation.
I'm an American citizen. So yes, I am supporting mass deportation of people who are not American citizens.
I'm Catholic.
Congratulations. Are you an American citizen?
Yeah. None of your business.
So you are an American citizen, clearly.
None of your business.
I'm not going to get deported. You're not going to get deported. But how dare you stand here and tell me that I'm going to get deported?
Those are true.
So you an American citizen are going to get deported.
All right, so you see what has occurred here. That is what it looks like when the left is so trampled. Well, you're going to get deported. Well, why? Well, because you're brown. I'm an American citizen.
I'm all good.
Like, I'm all good here. Well, what are you? Well, I'm Catholic.
Okay.
Okay.
What does that? How does that
have to do with any of this sort of discussion? This is unfortunately the mentality that they have, and largely it's built on a racial construct. You are this because you look this way. You must only be this way. In fact, she was shocked when Savannah Hernandez started running circles around her. Like she thought she was going to be doing the, I am on the View. What are you? They're going to deport me. Oh, no. Like she firmly believed when that woman walked up with that microphone and she went up to her and decided like, I'm going to tell her like, hey, you better watch out. They're going to deport you. She had no idea that you were going to have not only someone who was smarter than you, more articulate than you, obviously better looking, but that you were going to get somebody who was more ready for the fight. You actually went up to a person who works for Turning Point USA and thought, I will jump in the political arena with this person. That is called the lion cage.
There's never one point during the show, during the past administration, the current Trump administration, where borders matter again. In Trump's America, we can say, yes, it's important to have borders and law and order. There was never a point, unlike the woman that was talking to the Turning Point USA host, that I looked at Los knowing, just like he talked about in the last segment, his background is Chinese and Spanish. There was never a point where I was like, Los, are you scared you're going to get deported?
No, not concerned.
It never came up. Never crossed my mind.
Never had any of these concerns.
Yes. But that woman, because of the way Savannah Hernandez looked, she was like, well, you need to be scared.
She told her, you need to be careful.
Yeah.
What do you mean I need to be careful?
Never once. Dre, have you ever thought, man, I wonder if Los is maybe running behind one day. Was it ever because you were afraid that he had been deported?
No. This is always the other joke I enjoy.
Just making sure.
Well, do you have ID? Well, yeah, because every adult does.
Yes, that's right.
Anything I'm in a diaper?
Yeah, right.
What kind of moronic thing is this?
I wondered if some private military, some from the deep state might have got hold of him.
Yeah.
Because remember, requiring ID is racist. That's the other one too. But I just love that lefty went up to a woman not having any ID. And of course not. All she saw was microphone, brown.
Got to be on my team.
You got to watch out. You got to be careful. And what she found was a very articulate American woman who tore her a new one.
And she looks like the fool. Not even looks like. She is. She proved herself.
And then she ends up on a video that as of right now, we're talking about 1.5 million views. And that's you. Like, that's you. Could you imagine if, and it would be, whatever the circumstance, could you imagine if your mom ended up in a video that was compromising and 1 million people had seen it?
You'd want to hide under a rock.
You'd want her to hide under it. Like, you'd feel bad for her. Somebody out there, that's their mom or grandma, and they're like, well, she really stepped in it again. Man, Peg, stop going to these things.
Peg. You got to stay away. They're going to feature you
it's like,
again.
You don't, like, Aunt Peg, you don't get it. they're tearing you a new one. Like, I used to tell friends of ours when they would say, well, I'm going to go down there to protest. I'm like, you don't go protest in this atmosphere, this climate.
That's prior to the election.
This is because this is how bad it is. This is like 2021, 2022, That's 2023. Right. I was like, stay out of those.
I remember having this discussion. We had this discussion with a friend.
And we were like, do not go down there to protest.
Because they were all, ready to go, guns ablazing, ready to make signs.
I'm like, like, you will catch a case. Here's what will happen. Do not go down there. The same thing needs to be said to the left. Now, it's not about, I'm going to catch a case. We're so good right now at running circles around you. The new right, the young right, the Gen X right. We make y'all look terrible. Like, y'all have no chance. But and then we put it out there.
Look, I love giving us credit for that. But sometimes they just make themselves look so bad, we don't even have to do anything. But
we have not been confrontational. When I talked about the new right 3-4 years ago, I was like, do not be afraid to be these sorts of people. You should not have to apologize for being conservative. Conservative, when it comes right down to it, you're hoping everyone does well. You're hoping your entire community does well.
Amen.
Even
the people that don't agree with you.
Even the people that don't agree with you. I tell my dad, I'm going to bring you kicking and screaming to prominence. That's how it's going to be. You
drag you across the finish line.
Have heart for every single person. You're not looking to put them into particular boxes other than we're all successful. That's what we're going for. So you don't have to apologize for this stuff. At the same time, you don't have to hide from it anymore. Gen X is out there throwing it in your face.
Have you ever been to a place? Maybe it's a classroom, maybe it's church, maybe it's a concert venue, where you heard a message that you didn't pay for. This is what happens to people on that same side. Just like the woman you played, she couldn't wait to tell Savannah Hernandez that she needs to be safe. She needs to be careful. That was her word. Be careful. Lord, I saw Pearl Jam about 3 weeks ago. Eddie Vedder's a really political guy. Realized half of his audience didn't agree with him politically, and he didn't mention politics. At either show in Atlanta, politics didn't come up. Bruce Springsteen, on the other hand, did not get the memo. My man has people paying to be lectured at his concerts, and this dude's a douche to begin with. I'm not a Bruce Springsteen fan, and I wasn't a fan before I even knew his politics. But this dude gets up on stage and starts saying crap like this.
They're removing residents off American streets and without due process of law are deporting them to foreign detention centers and prisons.
Hell yeah, we are.
This is all happening now.
It better happen more.
Hang on, hit pause on it just real quick. You know what he's saying? You know what he's saying? He's saying the exact same thing that the lady that was talking to Savannah Hernandez said.
Yep.
You better be careful.
Watch out. You're brown.
They're dragging people out of, they're dragging American citizens out of their homes and sending them to concentration camps. Those two, she, not wealthy, nobody knows who she is. Bruce Springsteen, the biggest rock star, maybe the world. And they're saying the same thing, and both are wrong.
And what's weird is how they're merging. Because that woman, Bruce Springsteen, even like Mark Cuban, they now all look like old lesbians. It's weird how that TDS has now turned them all into a trifecta of old-looking lesbians.
Can I give you a comparison?
It's weird.
Do you ever notice somebody, I'm not putting people that smoke down. I know it's a hard habit to break, whatever. But you know people that smoke. You can tell it. You can see it.
You can see it in their face when it's like, man, that's rough.
Or you can hear it in the voice. It's very clear. It's happening with a mental disorder, TDS. The same kind of thing is happening.
So I got to do it in the same way. Pete Rose had a sister, and they did an interview with her on ESPN like years ago. And she sounded like this. They were inseparable.
Can I have some cigarettes? Camel, no filter, please.
How you doing over there, doll?
Yeah, exactly. Good Lord. Oh. They all say the same thing. They get the same talking points. They get the same downloads. They get the same programming. And no matter where they are, side of the road or on a stage in front of people that are paid to be there, and say the same thing.
It's like the mentality eventually changes them all into like their own version of Gollum. Now, I don't know if that's going to make sense to Tug.
It does.
But eventually they just look a certain way and you're all like, man, why y'all look so rough? Because they're so filled with anger and frustration and hatred that they all start looking like old beat up lesbians. Just rough.
I didn't see the movies, but I read the book.
Now you know what I'm talking about.
I do, indeed. My pretty.
And now here's The View.
And now here's The View is exactly where I was going.
Because now some ladies that wouldn't like this show.
That would hate every bit of the show. They still love, however, a failed Democrat presidential candidate more than they love maybe air.
This argument was so funny yesterday. The discussion point of the women that have failed, namely it was Hillary Clinton. Take a listen to now The View and the revisionist history of why Hillary Clinton lost an election.
We lost twice when women ran.
Yeah.
I mean,
is there no distinguishing factors to each woman and why they might have lost? Is there no nuance?
Hillary Clinton was one of the most qualified candidate in presidential.
She carried a lot of Clinton baggage, but she was polarizing.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm
lost
because
to a failed game show host.
Yes.
Okay?
I loved her. I voted for her. But the number one thing I heard from people that didn't like her was there was this mystery around the Clinton baggage they took. I just don't trust her.
They weaponized her husband against Hillary Clinton.
He did all those things.
This country is a misogynistic country, and this country is
all right, that's
a country.
Thank
you. On and on.
So you only had one person who actually had any sense there, and she had to yell it over the cackling. She said she was polarizing.
And you're trying to tell me there's no distinguishing factors between the two women running. I thought that was an interesting statement.
What it came down to is the more Hillary would talk, in a very even more extreme than Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris made it a point for her not to talk. The more Hillary talked, the more her numbers fell, the more people didn't like her. And then she actually went out there and called half of the country a basket of deplorables. In the meanwhile, everyone recognized that running with the establishment was a problem. That's what Donald Trump was so appealing. And this is not unusual. This is a country that voted in a large part for Ross Perot, and that dude could have been more weird. Donald Trump had the benefit of having 30 years of pop culture history.
That's right. And rooted in that pop culture history. He would show up in hip-hop songs. We brought that up a million times.
And he's funny.
And his comedic timing is great. And he was successful on TV, knows how to navigate media. He's done it. Like when we brought up the whole thing with Gretchen Whitmer earlier, gosh, she's attractive. Why did he set her up? Why did he set her up? Because he knew she was going to walk right into the trap, and she did.
And she did.
He knows media.
He is that Spider-Man. He's just sitting there. He's like, oh, come on, check out this web. No, it's fine. Look, there's food here. No, come on in.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to bite you. You just get involved with him, and if you're a Democrat, it's over for you. And if you're a Republican, well, hey, it's a lot of times that's the deal maker.
And he had it twice. He handed it to her twice. Remember in the Oval Office?
Here you go.
Hiding her face behind the papers. Then in her home state, had her walk out.
Hillary called people a basket of deplorables. And then at the 9/11 memorial, she's passing out. Like everyone's like, that woman ain't right.
Yeah, something ain't right there. It is banged up. She is banged up, or was. Probably still is. Tug and Los until 10. On Xtra 106.3 when we come back, the cancer distraction for Biden and his dementia. Next on Xtra. It's just like the snowball just continues to grow, gets bigger and bigger. Every stinking day.
Well, syphilis is treatable.
That's what they tell me down on Cobb Parkway. I saw the sign. Make sure it's syphilis.com, I believe.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3 FM.
Good morning, it's Los. Let's talk about True Prep. Now, in these very weird times, and I swear, let's see, 2 weekends ago, it was an earthquake. This past weekend, you found out, the former commander-in-chief has all of these issues. Okay, you don't know what's coming around the corner. Neither do I. So what do? I prep for it just in case. And I got a partner in True Prep. Now, here's the cool part. You can always go online and look into some of this early prep stuff, or you can go over to True Prep, trueprep.com, truprep.com, or you can go into the store right off of Cobb Parkway in Marietta, where you have one of the best stores in the country in your backyard to help you out with this process. Freeze-dried food, water filtration, some of the equipment if you need to make sure that you keep power on in your home. Maybe you have somebody elderly and you always worry about a power outage. They can help you out with that. Also, personal security, always a big deal. One of the things that True Prep has gone on they have an incredible deal on some new Glock pistols. For a limited time, you get the brand new Glock 19 Gen 4, $399.99 cash, or with a credit card, $419.99. These are the 315-round magazines that are all available, and they will not last long. So what do you do from here for any of your prep needs? Head on over Cobb Parkway. You can walk right into True Prep, or go online, truprep.com. That's truprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 in Boston over the weekend against the Red Sox. That included a big 10-4 win yesterday afternoon. The Braves are now off tonight. They continue the road trip tomorrow in D.C. against the Washington Nationals. From the NBA, Game 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder are moving on to the Western Conference Finals after beating the Denver Nuggets 125-93. The final, the Thunder will now match up with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That series will begin on Tuesday night. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
If you're thinking about a new Chevy, don't wait. Now's the time. Head to Jim Ellis Chevrolet, where the price is right now.
Lock in your lowest price today before prices start to rise due to new tariffs. Shop early while inventory is strong. Right now, Jim Ellis Chevrolet has more than 400 vehicles in stock on the ground, ready to take home today. That includes the legendary Silverado, family-friendly SUVs like the Equinox, Tahoe, and Suburban, one of the largest Corvette selections in the metro Atlanta area. And if you're shopping pre-owned, you'll find a great selection of certified vehicles too, thoroughly inspected and ready to roll.
At Jim Ellis Chevrolet, you'll find exactly what you want, but don't wait too long. Get yours today before prices go up and vehicle selection goes down. No pressure, no games, just a transparent customer-first experience that makes buying easy.
And after the sale, Jim Ellis Chevrolet is still with you thanks to factory-trained technicians who will keep your Chevy running strong. For the latest offers, stop by their showroom on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, just inside the perimeter.
Or shop anytime at JimEllisChevrolet.com. Jim Ellis Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Today.
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the 3rd annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
The only thing better than covering all these Trump wins is watching the left implode over it.
Donald Trump, he's entertaining the world while he's changing the whole freaking planet.
Extra 106.3 is committed to bring you the news you care about most. From Atlanta legends and conservative voices you've relied on for a generation. Proud to be Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station. Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra, coming out of the gate today on fire, and it's hard not to with all the news that broke Friday evening and then continued through yesterday. Well, with the exception of Los having super secret agent woman friend that told him Saturday evening, wait, there's a cancer diagnosis for Joe Biden coming. in case you didn't know.
If you're just joining the program.
What?
We had some friends over, some old friends. They used to be our former neighbors. Now that we were in another neighborhood, we're like, come on up, let's all hang out. Made them dinner, smoked them ribs. Like, everybody had a great time, and we're out on the back deck. We're all just chatting. This had just been now 24 hours since the Robert Hur deposition audio with Joe Biden had been out there, and the conversation came up, and the people that had heard it, we started discussing about like how tough it sounded. Clearly sounded like he's not all there. And again, I went on to listen to the entirety of all of it, and like I said, the parts that were picked out are definitely some of the roughest ones. There's other times where he sounds more coherent, but still. And one of the people that was present at the party just flat out says, oh, well, there's going to be a cancer diagnosis in the next 24 hours.
One more time?
I was like, what? I was like, hold on. They're like, yeah, they found something they're going to use. That's what they're going to go with. It's like, huh? Now,
I'm telling you, my daddy, Johnny Cowart, would have hit him with a, do what?
Now, I'll freely admit, I'm like 4 or 5 drinks in at this point, and so is she, and so is quite a few people. And so it turns into, oh, okay. Well, hey, does anybody follow that Tampa real estate broker on, Instagram? She's really funny. Like, that's what it turned into.
Okay.
It went from cancer to
Tampa real estate.
Tampa real estate. This woman's hilarious. So to then see it all play out, by the time that this shows up on everyone's radar about 4 o'clock on Sunday, and then we're all commenting on it, and you're sending the text message, hey, here's what he's got. All I think to myself is, man, my old neighbor told me like 24 hours ago he's going to have a cancer diagnosis.
It's unbelievable.
I know. Like, there's part of me wants to can you explain how this happened?
Exactly. Where do you have your, what's your source? Cite your source, please.
Yeah. As I'm all over Twitter, like, where is the cancer diagnosis? But then there was also other things, as you had pointed out along with Jerry. He did say back in 2022, he told us all he had cancer.
Do you have that cut with? If not, no worries. We'll get it.
He pointed it out.
Well, he said, me and a lot of my friends growing up in that area because of all the drilling for oil, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
He made an oil reference.
Me and all of them, we all have cancer.
And you went, what?
And that was 2022.
He's like, that's how we all have cancer.
That's right. And that was 2022.
He was talking about the black rain that would fall on the cars. He's like, a lot of people in the area, that's why we all have cancer.
Yeah. And then the White House comes out, well, that was just a gaffe. He didn't mean to say that.
He didn't actually say that he had cancer.
Turns out he absolutely did. And they covered it up. He didn't say it. Nobody wanted you to know it until now.
If we go by just the general timeline, the doctors that actually are involved in all of this stuff will tell you, when it comes to his form of cancer, prostate cancer, that if it ever is going to metastasize and get to the bones, they're like, that's a 5 or 10 year period.
Right. It does not happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen in the last 115 days.
Like, my father went through prostate cancer, and the whole, he's now 9 years, 10 years clean. But that is the deal. He gets the regular checkups because they want to see, has it remained dormant? For it looks like when it comes to Joe Biden's version that it was somewhat dormant, but there was always a possibility that it would metastasize based on how long it had been going on. And so I believe they found out most recently it metastasized, but I don't believe for a second that he was in the Oval Office for those years without cancer and that they didn't know about that.
No, absolutely they did.
They just figured they'll treat it, they'll manage it.
That's exactly right. Because, and I've been reading a lot of Nicole Sapphire, she's just been out front with it. And she said, easiest one to detect. It's the easiest one to detect.
The PSA test makes it very easy to detect it,
right.
Yes.
And then it led me to think about all of those, and someone that works in our building, Matt Edgar, he's a producer genius down at 680 The Fan. He's ran this shop before. I mean, he's done everything.
He's done everything you can in sports radio.
And just an absolute genius. And he was like, hey, didn't they tell us that he had a clean bill of health? I was like, yes, Matty, they did.
Multitude of times.
4 times they told you that.
They told us that a multitude of times.
Including 2024.
That not only is he's in great shape, and now he's totally 100% perfect.
But then think about what they did to Donald Trump. Remember when they kept saying, well, he's not fit. He's not fit. We need to have him checked.
During COVID, because remember, Donald Trump had gotten COVID, and the left came running over and talking about how, you know what, they got to hit him with the 25th Amendment. He is not able to handle the office based on his health. I know somebody that the argument was a lot more clear there. And so knowing that it had to have been an open secret, firmly believe this. This is why you had Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi come down on him the way that they did after the debate, because they were like, this is not going to be hard to prove. You have cancer and dementia.
It's so obvious.
We're going to 25th Amendment you.
Everyone knows something isn't right. Everyone smells it. Everyone sees it. Now, we're going to do our best to have our media partners blast anyone that brings it up. They're going to call you un-American. They're going to call you any name they can possibly think of if you even think about saying that he's unfit. We're going to come after you with everything we have. And they did. They came after anybody that brought it up.
Well, I'll give you a hint. This is going to be 3 minutes, and we won't even get that far. But I just want you to hear this montage of all the people that told you when you said something's not right.
They came after you.
Something's not right. Take a listen to how they responded.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
He knows so long as I denied.
In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory. His understanding and mastery of a complicated geopolitical situation, remarkable.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie?
She's dead.
I didn't think she was going to be here.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across the table, and he was, intense.
Have trouble walking sometimes? Yeah, so did FDR. He wanted GD war.
But he's totally focused. He's very sharp.
They say he's sharp in meetings and so on.
Very lucid, very well informed. Biden is state lead. He comes with gravitas. There hasn't been, as far as I know, a single claim that Biden made a mistake. Ageism is an issue. Americans have a rich history of holding people's physical characteristics against them.
Of course.
Okay, you can ask African Americans.
He's older.
All right, there you go.
Dude,
they actually went to ageism. Well, that's the only reason they're actually attacking him here, because of it's his age.
Yeah, but that's just one thing they did. He has a stutter. He's got all. There's all kinds of reasons that these things happen.
And now, if we were to sit down and say, "Oh, you call that a stutter? Actually, it's cancer and dementia."
These people
with cancer, the big C,
you every day, and now want you to believe that they had no idea.
And they're aiming now to try and get you to feel bad about you noticing
David
and calling
Axelrod.
into question.
David Axelrod, first thing, his first tweet. Now we're probably going to tamp down some of this dementia talk. And I take no joy. We've talked about it. We've mentioned it this morning, but I feel like it needs to be repeated again. We take no joy in Joe Biden having cancer or dementia. Zero joy. What we take issue with is the media and the blob that is Washington, D.C., the machine that lied to you from day one, knowing all of this, and then called you a fool for believing your eyes and your ears. That's what we're pissed about.
Their plan actually was to get him across the finish line and then hand this over to Kamala Harris or somebody different. They knew,
that's right.
Based on where things are. I had brought this up a number of different times when I said he will not survive another term. They knew it too. So why did they ever attempt to run him? Like, how did it get to the point where he's got a diagnosis where they're like, he ain't making it that much longer. Let's run this.
They've avoided democracy, as they say it, since 2012. They've hand-selected every person that was the Democrat nominee. They knew he couldn't make it, and they couldn't wait to pass the crown to Kamala Harris. That was the plan the entire time. Woo! You think 6 o'clock hour has been on fire.
Get ready.
Wait till we hit 7. Robert Hur was part of the Biden cover-up. You know it. I know it. We all know it.
Neil Boortz is only live on Extra 106.3, bringing you daily commentary on the biggest topics of the day. Catch him throughout the day or hear his latest on the Extra 106.3 app.
If you're thinking about a new Buick or GMC, don't wait. Now's the time. Head to Jim Ellis Buick GMC, where the price is right now.
Lock in your lowest price today before prices start to rise due to new tariffs. Shop early while inventory is strong. Right now, Jim Ellis Buick GMC has more than 400 vehicles in stock.
Whether it's the luxurious Buick Enclave or Envision, a spacious GMC Acadia or Yukon, or the power and the capability of the Sierra and Canyon trucks.
And if you're shopping pre-owned, you'll find a great selection of certified vehicles too. Thoroughly inspected and ready to roll at Jim Ellis Buick GMC. You'll find exactly what you want. But don't wait too long. Get yours today before prices go up and vehicle selection goes down. No pressure, no games, just a transparent, customer-first experience that makes buying easy.
Start your search now before prices change at JimEllisBuickGMC.com or visit Jim Ellis Buick GMC in Chamblee off Peachtree Boulevard, inside the perimeter, or in Buford off Highway 20 near 985. Jim Ellis Buick GMC, we are professional grade.
Attention Warriors, are you a veteran ready to navigate to success after service? Tune in to the Warrior Alliance Network. Join us as we spotlight inspiring stories, provide essential resources, and connect you with a community dedicated to empowering veterans. From career advice to health and wellness tips, the Warrior Alliance Network is your go-to hub for post-service success. Tune in Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Xtra 106.3. Join us on the mission, the Warrior Alliance Network, where warriors thrive together. Visit us at thewarrioralliance.org for more information.
Fox on Tech.
How much do you pay for your digital life? Yes, we buy gadgets. We buy smartphones, sometimes with credit, sometimes with payment plans. We may have smart TVs or tablets. Those are finite purchases, but then we have subscriptions, and we just set those to automatically pay. Maybe it's a streaming service, maybe it's a game, maybe it's that app that lets you trace your genealogy. Whatever it is, that charge is weekly or monthly, and those charges add up. Tech news site CNET has a study out saying 4 out of 5 American adults subscribe to at least one of those services, and on average, people are paying up to $90 a month, with some of those charges going to services or apps they don't even use. That's more than $1,000 a year. And while the boomer generation spends the least on subs, millennials spend the most. CNET says they spend more than $100 a month. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Former President Biden has cancer. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Less than 4 months after leaving the White House.
Diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The former president's team says he's now reviewing treatment options, and now political leaders on both sides of the aisle are offering their support to Biden and his family.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. President Trump wished former President Biden a fast and successful recovery. A few hours from now, the president will have phone calls with Russian leader Vladimir Putin and then Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky trying to end their war. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker just told Fox.
You know, I think President Trump is uniquely positioned to get a deal done if a deal is to be had.
There is no end to Israel's war against Hamas. Its military issued an evacuation warning today to residents in Gaza's second largest city after more deadly airstrikes over the weekend. Israel is going to allow food to be sent into Gaza over starvation concerns after recently blocking food and aid deliveries. The House Budget Committee last night advanced what President Trump calls one big, beautiful bill. Speaker Mike Johnson says
you're going to have historic savings for the American people, historic tax relief for American workers, historic investments in border security.
Though 4 Republicans who voted present, not yes, still pushing for more spending cuts. Democrats warn the GOP cuts to Medicaid will take health coverage away from Americans in need. The manhunt continues in Louisiana for 7 escaped prisoners.
If anybody harbors them, if anybody aids them, and we find out, we will arrest you.
That's Governor Jeff Landry. 3 others were captured Friday after breaking out of the Orleans Justice Center. America's listening to Fox News.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Search for the Extra 106.3 app wherever you download apps by searching XTRA 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
It seemed very shortly after I was losing my mind about the Mexican ship with sailors manning the yards. I mean, this is like a traditional thing that ships do when they're coming in or out of port. You know, they're on display. It's like a dress display for the ship. And it was minutes after that, seemingly minutes after that I never thought about it again until this morning, until just now. I just saw the picture of it because of the Joe Biden diagnosis. So it went from something that I have seen and experienced as a sailor in the United States Navy, and I'm like, hang on. You're telling me that ship didn't know how high its mast is, yet we all know the height of the Brooklyn Bridge. If you're sailing up and down and you go up and under the Brooklyn Bridge, you know how tall the Brooklyn Bridge is. You have to. You have to know if you can get through. You have to know if you can come back. These clowns didn't. They didn't know the height of the bridge, and they didn't know the height of their mast. And then it tumbled over. It was the most insane thing as a former sailor that I'd ever seen in my whole life.
Every now and again, we're given an example of how we're slipping further and further into the movie Idiocracy. As you said, you don't know how high the bridge is and how tall your ship is.
Those are two things you need to know.
Well, there was a tugboat that was like pushing it around or trying to get it out of there before it got. I don't know, but even if the power lost the engines and it was an accident or something like that, they shouldn't have been that close to the bridge with your mast that high.
Ever. But then that was flushed. That was completely gone. I didn't think of it again until today when I saw the picture because of the diagnosis of Joe Biden and prostate cancer. Stage 4. Unbelievable. I feel unbelievable and completely believable.
I feel like we're in a multitude of days where I talk about how quickly the news is moving. How for the Trump administration, it keeps them way ahead of the competition. That the government media, when they start criticizing a move that's happened within the Trump administration, they're on to the next move and the next move after that. So it becomes old news very quickly. The past 72 hours between here comes the Robert Hur audio, the tapes we've been asking to listen to. We'd read the transcriptions. This was an opportunity by Friday evening to listen to those tapes. Then by Sunday afternoon, it's, oh, by the way, he's got cancer. It's bad. It's like, how do we try and make this go away? Because we have a book that's going to be released to the public, Jake Tapper's book, in the next 48 hours.
That's right.
And that's what they're looking to curtail. They're trying, and I don't get the play here, because confirming to the American people that he has a cancer diagnosis, the problem being that when you talk to any of these doctors and listen to these doctors, when they talk about it metastasizing in the way that it has from his version of prostate cancer, they say that's normally a 5 to 10 year period, that it doesn't happen very quickly. That means he was probably sitting in the Oval Office during all that time with a cancer diagnosis, and you never told the American public that. I think it makes it worse. Obviously worse than just dementia.
2022, if you recall, the White House said this was a gaffe. He just misspoke.
Public appearance talking about oil and fracking.
Listen.
And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Hang on, what, sir? What did you say?
That's why I and many others I know have cancer.
We all flagged that. We talked about it on the show, and they just insisted. The White House press, the White House itself, they insisted he misspoke. Now we know he did not. He didn't misspeak.
No, he just said something he wasn't supposed to.
That's right. Again.
The entirety of his administration, the entirety of his presidency, he would talk about things, and he would say this, and now it even hits you a certain way. When he would say, I'm not allowed to do that or else I'll get in trouble. Like he was a child.
All the time.
Where
that
questions
so much.
If he got into any further
I can't
detail.
call on you.
Because if I do, I'll get in trouble.
That's right. They handled him like a child because he had dementia. Now we know that. We take no joy in reporting it. We take no joy in the cancer diagnosis. I feel terrible for the man. As a human being, I feel for him.
We've always said this. This has never changed.
It's exactly right.
We're like, he needs to be sitting on a beach, chilling and taking it easy. We have said that during even the worst parts of his administration.
And Dr. Jill and everybody around him knew that he was what their power hinged on. They couldn't let him do that. He had to go out and be the puppet that they needed him to be so Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton could run the country, because I firmly believe that's who was running it. And they needed that power. They needed him to be what they needed him to be, which was the puppet. They pushed him out. They didn't care about his diagnosis. You think we're ugly for talking about it?
They didn't give one S about his health.
They didn't give a rip about that man.
That did not matter a tiny bit to him. All they cared about was, do we have access to the strings of power? And that's all that mattered. And that included Jill Biden.
Yes, it did.
Jill Biden.
Hunter, too.
Yeah, who, on the way out, of course, the 2,490 pardons, and the only one, as you pointed out, that looks like it was actually signed by Joe Biden was Hunter's.
And if you look at it, dude, if you look at the actual signature, it looks like a child wrote it. It does.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so scribbled. Even on his middle initial, it is so shaky. I remember my grandmother, before she passed, and she died, she had dementia when she passed, and Alzheimer's. I remember her writing her name and how feeble it was. I take no joy in that either, obviously, but I remember it. You can't not remember it. You can't pretend that it didn't happen. I remember when seeing Joe Biden on stage, and my father-in-law's not in great health, and I remember thinking, God, they look so similar in some of their the shuffling, the way that they talk, the patterns that they talk in. I knew something was gravely wrong because of my own personal experience, and I think that's what most Americans saw.
But that was just you with a conspiracy theory.
Well, that's what they would tell you.
You were a conspiracy theorist.
That's what they told us.
Why don't you take off your tinfoil hat for noticing these things, Tug?
Joe Biden, and if you don't recognize, as we have Morning Joe on in the studio right now, do you think they'll replay F you if you don't realize that Joe Biden's as sharp as he's ever been?
That was the end of Joe Scarborough. All right, take a listen. This is a piece of audio, and this was from Friday evening. This is when we just thought it was about dementia. This is from October of 2023. This is the deposition where Robert Hur is asking Joe Biden about the documents that were found by the FBI in his garage. That, oh, by the way, by no means was he ever allowed to have those. Classified documents are not to be accessed outside of a SCIF or taken home. Even if you're the vice president, you are not allowed to have these.
Only the president.
So while they're prosecuting Donald Trump over documents at Mar-a-Lago, they're like, damn it, the commander-in-chief actually has them, and he has them from a time period that legally he's not supposed to. He has top secret documents. All right, so take a listen as they're doing this deposition and how he sounds.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer focus shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that period?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so It was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. It's not a mean thing to say, but he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did.
All right, so there's he's asked about where he is storing these documents, how he's come into them. And out of nowhere, remember, one of the criticisms that you had Joe Biden unleash on Robert Hur was he brought up my son. No, you brought up your dead son, and you didn't know the dates of when he passed away. So that was the story from Friday. Now, here was the picture from Friday. The Justice Department, knowing he was dead to rights, they had what they needed. They cooked up a story, and I believe Robert Hur was right in on it. Let's just say he's too old in order to face prosecution.
And people will be sympathetic.
And they'll be sympathetic towards
because
him.
We've all had grandparents that are in that shape before. We've all experienced it. Or if you've not yet, you will.
Because if you were to go down, if you were just being honest, you would say, this man committed a federal crime. And he did. And he's the sitting president. And at that point, that opens up everything. You want to talk about a legitimate opportunity where you can go in and say, listen, we might have to come after you here.
When I was in the Navy, I had a secret clearance always, and then a need-to-know basis that would take me to a top secret or even above if necessary. It rarely happened. But if I were to take secret documents, if I were just to take them and leave them on the mess decks, I'm talking while we're out to sea, I had to leave them on the mess decks, I would have been punished to no end. Secret documents that I had access to if I would have left them on a mess deck table where people were gathering and eating lunch. And they said, wow, what is this? I would have been the last person to sign out the safe that they're in or the cabinet they're in. They would have tracked it right back to me. I would have been punished to no end. So would have you. Joe Biden, not so much.
This is not an over-exaggeration, and Tug will confirm this. We have actually sent sailors and airmen and military personnel to prison because they took selfies and actually were in front of sensitive equipment that they were not allowed to. I'm just taking a selfie. I'm 20 years old, and somebody went, you took in front of this panel. This is secret information. You're going to Leavenworth.
Just this process.
And yet, you had Joe Biden that they were, well, listen, he's supposed to go to prison here. All right, we'll just say that he's too old. And Robert Hur, I guarantee, was like, all right, I'll take the slings and arrows. Let's make it about how I called him too old. And y'all can debate it on all the cable shows. And yet we won't have the actual discussion, which is the federal government left him alone after he committed a federal crime.
He should absolutely be in jail.
Which, by the way, only is pertinent because they're actually was trying at the same time to lock up Donald Trump on the same charges that he legally actually had a right to have those documents.
Because he was president. Joe Biden had all those documents as vice president. Donald Trump, as Los pointed out earlier in the last hour, Trump, by his own words, could say this is unclassified, and it is.
That was the difference in the two. And that's what I think people got caught up on Friday. Listen to how terrible he sounds. Listen to what your federal government did to jump through those hoops to maintain the process of trying to put Donald Trump in prison. His chief political rival to Donald Trump actually did what they were saying he did.
And every agency in the federal government stood by and allowed it to happen. Not one person had the courage to say, this is wrong.
So they pushed the nuclear button on Sunday. It looks so bad off of the Robert Hur audio and what's coming out about the tell-all books, and he's been diminished since 2017. They then rolled it out. And Tug, when Tug saw it Sunday afternoon, he put it out there. And as Tug tends to do, because Tug's got a big heart, he's like, man, this sounds not really good. Like, this sounds bad. I'm like, Tug, it's supposed to sound as bad as possible because they're trying to get you to pull and trying to get you to whoa. Let's pull back this horse a little bit.
Let's not even talk about it.
And Axelrod tried to throw it at you,
right.
and then it turned into the media influencers, the David Sissy Sissons of the world, and everybody else. Hey, we should give Biden some room. We shouldn't be going after him at this time.
And nobody's going after him for his health.
We're not going after Joe Biden. We're going after this entire machine that created this scenario by which this happened. Like I told you even yesterday. Why was Joe Biden and his cancer not even trending on Twitter? Because the story on X was, here's what they did to cover this stuff up. We've looked beyond Joe Biden. Like, I hold Jill Biden to more of an account than anything else.
Hunter Biden, Kamala Harris, the entirety of the administration, Barack Obama, who was running the administration, Hillary Clinton, that was running the administration.
The worst people.
Every one of them are as filthy, low down, and they're just scoundrels. Every one of them have betrayed you. They've betrayed the country in their own interest, in the interest of power and money. That's what it always boils down to, the almighty dollar, every time. And how do you get the almighty dollar? Being the most powerful.
People are starting to now ask questions, and we did it in our opening hour. And I think this is important to go through because everyone on this radio program has had different pieces of this. And it sometimes, as I joke around, Tug doesn't put on the tinfoil hat very often, but when he does, I'm like, here we go. All right, Daddy, let's do this.
Let's get down.
But one of the things that we started tracking, and when Tug tells me, hey, I think you're onto something, all right, Tug's very level-headed. So when he says, I think you're onto something, it's like, okay, we're going the right direction. It started with that Joe Biden was only available 10 to 4. Every single time we would look through his presidential calendar, like, what? We would go through it weekly?
Yeah, at least.
We would go through it all the time. Here's what he's scheduled for, and the reason why.
And then the beauty was, the beauty of it, after Los had discovered this, that you could watch every outlet, Fox included, and they'd be like, Joe Biden available this morning for media at 11. Joe Biden, he'll be wrapping up everything at 3:30 this afternoon. You're like, there's a pattern I'm seeing.
And we started circling dates where he was going to be available after 4 o'clock. He's going to do an appearance over at this warehouse at 7 o'clock. And we knew, gap opportunity, here it comes. This is where it's going to happen. What we didn't do is all the times to Delaware, I thought it was about dementia treatment. This lines much more out with cancer treatment.
But the only thing I would say is, it was probably both.
It was probably both.
He had to have both. It's not like you could just do one.
Because he could do this privately and keep it at least off the radar of national news. Because we are able to look at the White House log. It's the reason why we've been able to look at who has come and gone and who he's met with. Like, that's public record. Could you imagine had we seen a bunch of cancer and dementia-oriented doctors
rolling into the White House?
Why is he meeting with like 4 or 5 oncologists? Does he have cancer? No. They made sure wherever he was doing with it was off the radar of public record.
When we come back on Extra 106.3, James Comer has evidence of what we all suspected had happened over the last 4 years. A busy day. If you miss a minute of the morning show this morning, you're going to be behind because you're not going to see it in mainstream media. You're not. They're not going to be having the same conversations. You want to be part of it? 404-741-1230 is the number, at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. We will be right back.
Illegal border crossings are down 87%, and Army recruitment hits a 15-year high. So tell us again, what's wrong with America? Yeah, exactly. Get it right with Atlanta's only conservative voice, Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
The upgrades in your life. You upgrade your car. Yeah, once every few years, probably 10 years or so, get a new car. You upgrade your phone. That's every 3 or 4 years because, they make it run slower the way it drives you crazy, so you have to upgrade. I mean, you get new clothes every year. You upgrade the lawn, making sure it looks just the way it's supposed to. Now upgrade the exterior of your home with Southern Exteriors. 10% off any job and 12 months, 0% financing on roofing, siding, gutters. They do it all on the exterior of your home. They've been trusted across the Southeast at least since 1999, at least 200,000 jobs under their belt. based in Jackson, Georgia. Good folks, because they don't play the silly games that all these other exterior companies do. They just give you solid craftsmanship. Dependable people, and I've worked with them. I know them and have been acquainted with them for quite some time now and will vouch for them because they give you results that last. Hey, it's Tug. Get with Southern Exteriors. They show up, they do it right, and they stand behind their work. Whatever you need done to the exterior of your home to make it that jewel of the neighborhood. When people drive by the cul-de-sac, drive through, they're like, man, I want my house to look like that one. You want to be that house. You want to be that family. And you can be. Call Southern Exteriors at 8779-SOUTHERN or go to southernexteriors.co at southernexteriors.co.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 3 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffers from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. We provide testosterone replacement therapy, the P-shot, and treatment for ED, PE, and Peyronie's disease. There's not just one therapy that can solve these complex issues. When you visit our clinic, you're going to see me. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. 404-777-1911. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. 404-777-1911. Online at tbtofga.com.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
This is Tom with the Honest Car Guy.
Hey, what's with all this honesty stuff?
We help you buy your next pre-owned car or truck honestly.
How honestly?
We guarantee that each vehicle we sell will come with a bill of sale showing what we paid for the vehicle. You'll pay what we pay, plus an honest fee. Guaranteed.
No gimmicks or tricks?
Nope.
Man, this sounds like a new way to buy a car.
Get an honest car buy from the Honest Car Guy. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit honestcarguy.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalamia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Are home repairs piling up? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Relax. We've got you covered. From drywall dings and leaky faucets to deck repairs and trim replacement, we're your one-stop shop for everything for your home needs. No more juggling multiple contractors. Just call us at the Trusted Toolbox and we'll handle it. Your home deserves the best, and we don't want you breaking your back trying. Call the Trusted Toolbox today at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. The Trusted Toolbox, your one-stop shop for home repairs and more.
The warm air, the beautiful weather, and the sounds of baseball. It's got you thinking about hitting the road. And no matter where your adventures take you, Subaru of Gwinnett has a vehicle to get you there safely and in style. Like the 2025 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance. More than the Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4 or the 2025 Subaru Forester, the SUV for all you love. It's the right-sized SUV for all the adventures ahead with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Cobb County School Board approved a $1.8 billion budget, with Superintendent Chris Ragsdale describing it as tighter than usual. Some budget concerns were raised about funding fleet maintenance of the school district's buses and over 1,000 county vehicles. The biolab facility that caught fire last September and led to shelter-in-place orders will not reopen as cleanup efforts continue. The Pool Chemical Company says they will not restart production but will continue to operate their distribution center. Biolab faces a number of lawsuits and was fined $60,000 by OSHA. And a beloved gas station chain is getting 2 more Georgia locations for your vacation drives. Buc-ee's will open the new locations in Brunswick near St. Simon's Island and another near Macon. Today's weather, partly cloudy and muggy today. Temperatures reaching the upper 80s with a possibility of scattered showers throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
I want to read you something and get your response to it. 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call, vansantlaw.com.
Is that my response, or do you want like 404-741-1230?
Any and all. Any and all covers.
All of you.
All of
y'all.
Everybody's well. All y'all.
All y'all.
You're completely welcome. Because I feel like this is something that we feel that we have stated over and over and over, and we've been stating it for as long as I can remember about Joe Biden's health. This woman tweets, it's Rena Oxendine. I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I hate his politics, but I don't want him to go to hell. I'll be praying for his soul because we know that he is in stage 4, a horrible diagnosis of cancer. We've taken no joy, zero joy in talking about Joe Biden's health. But we can't pretend that people didn't use his health as a tool against the American people. They did. They used it to amass as much power as they could, to change the dynamics of the United States as much as they could, while they had someone who had no idea what was going on.
To flood 10, 15 million people into here.
They used him. So for us to point out that that's what they did is not going at Joe Biden and his health. We're not.
I feel like I've lampooned it enough in terms of they use someone riddled with dementia.
And now cancer.
And then this is what they did with that. Knowing that Joe Biden, and here was I think the legacy of Joe Biden, if anyone's going to be honest about this, any historian, it's that the left has like their wish list, and their wish list is largely crazy. You're going to open up your borders. You're going to bring in 15 to 20 million people. You're going to try and crush your own safety nets that you have. You're going to put people into luxury 4-star hotels
at the taxpayers' expense
while your veterans are sleeping on the curb. You know, like all of these things are liberal dreams, hardcore communist liberal dreams. And the real story is Joe Biden wasn't strong enough to curtail them. Like Barack Obama knew, if I implement any of this stuff, we're not winning another election. Like, why do you think you would hear Hillary talk about immigration the way that she did? They knew you can't let the floodgates open in this way. But Joe Biden wasn't strong enough to do anything about it. They got everything that they wanted. Now, it's going to keep them out of power for God knows how long.
Van Jones said that on CNN. We're not going to play that audio here, but just know he did say that on CNN, that the Democrats will pay an incredible price for years to come for what they've done. Because I believe it too, and I believe it.
Well, I think that ends up being the reason why David Axelrod doesn't want us talking about this any further. Because adding on a cancer diagnosis, which has probably been for quite a while, but an advancement of that cancer just points out not only how cruel the party was and what they were doing to Joe Biden, but at the same time, their lust for power was so extreme that like their whole, remember what they were running with, and they haven't done it in a long time. The threat to democracy, threat to democracy, threat to democracy.
Parroted all the time.
You know how many times democracy is in the Constitution? 0. You will not find it one time in the Constitution because the founding fathers did not believe that democracy was going to be serving other people. They looked at it as mob rule. And yet their entire point was this threat to democracy. You know who the threat to democracy, the threat to the republic really was? It was them. It was them all along.
And they used their media partners. They used every piece of the government to try to convince you otherwise. And you were able to sniff it out. Still, you were able to sniff it out. Never discount your eyes and ears because they will not lie to you. The media will. The Democrats will. The Republicans will. Everybody will, it seems. Your eyes and ears won't.
There's still a portion of propaganda that does work on people. Like, I'd be very curious if what could happen with Aunt Peg, if you would ever were to reach out to Aunt Peg and, so what do you think about the whole Biden situation now? Now, this is how you're going to know how strong the propaganda is. Well, MAGA.
Yeah, it'll start with that.
It always goes that direction. That's how you know the cult-like mindset, the crazy behavior. It's that what they'll do is they will take their own crimes, because these are crimes.
Yes, they are.
That they committed against the American people and will turn them into your fault.
Stealing an election.
You made me do it. I didn't want to do it. Donald Trump is Hitler. You made me do it.
You made us steal the election. We had to. We couldn't let him remain in office.
I ran this by you. This was in the 6 o'clock hour. I said, do you recognize that without a stolen election in 2020, which again, if you just look at the statistics, it is statistically improbable for Joe Biden to win that election after 3 o'clock in the morning. Or sorry, before 3 o'clock in the morning. After 3 o'clock in the morning, anything could happen at that point, and it certainly did. So if we just were to say, okay, that election's pretty weird, based on how they've done things, they haven't won an election since 2012, a national election. They didn't win 16. They didn't win 24. I don't believe they won 20 either.
No, definitely not.
So the tide has turned. That's how far things have pushed. That the Democrats can withhold power on the coast. They can hold their power on the coast. That's what it's going to be. But when it comes to the rest of the country, and when it comes to electing an American president, if you go ahead and lay out common sense information, J.D. Vance, you're next, you're going to get in without a problem.
Because people understand right from wrong. They can see it. You don't need to be told what is right from wrong. You know it as soon as you see it. You understand right from wrong. You understand when a man is demented and can't stand up on a stage at the Air Force Academy. He can't complete a sentence. He mumbles. Because we've all seen it with elderly parents, or maybe it's a neighbor's parent. We've all encountered this. It's so clear to you.
But you know what they did, Tug? What they told us was that, no, he's cognitively fine. He's just older. That was like the ground they gave up because initially it was, he's totally fine. He's got the body of a 65-year-old. Then they had to concede the ground of, listen, he's just older. You know, older people sometimes don't move around quite as well, but he is sharp as a tack.
Yeah. They told you that. He was sharp as a tack every day.
Ageism.
They brought out the stutter. They brought anything that they could try to convince you not to listen to your eyes and ears. If I can implore you to do anything from this story, because this is the biggest story, the biggest corrupt story in American history. As big as JFK, as big as Richard, as big as all of them.
Watergate looks so tiny compared to this.
Watergate it's not even in the same stratosphere as this.
And it's not like this is a conspiracy theory where you say, all right, the Joint Chiefs were in on this in part with this amount of people, and there were 20 people that were part of it. This was so out in the open. And everyone knew. It's very similar to when I bring up, when we had the whole story of, what was it, Lois Lerner, when you had the people that were running the IRS and they were targeting Republican and conservative groups and making sure to take away their tax-exempt status.
Without a doubt, yes.
And the part when they investigated it was, there was no coordination between Lerner's office and the White House. It's like, because they didn't need to. Because these activists, these communists have been conditioned to do this stuff.
They already knew what to do.
They operate as their own cell. So everyone was operating as their own cell in this. They just knew what to do because they've been conditioned to know exactly what it is.
The same crap.
Yeah. They didn't need coordination. Yeah. There didn't have to be a Podesta email telling you what to do. They knew what to do.
They've been conditioned since the 60s.
To do this.
That's exactly right.
To go along with it in the interest of power.
And we hate this country enough that we're going to do whatever it takes to bring it to its knees. It's not worthy of being saved. And I know socialism's failed everywhere, but we're so sure that our brand of socialism is going to work just fine. And dude, they almost won. They almost got it.
It took June 27th on national television for Joe Biden to falter as badly as he did during a debate, to have them all look around at each other and be like, the game's up. Like, they figured it out. That was on national television. What do we do from here? That is entirely why. When Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer approached Joe Biden, and remember, the family had to take their time to go away and decide how they wanted to do it. And first off, they came out guns a-blazing. It's like, and we suggest Kamala Harris. Like, that was their last FU to the party. Mm-hmm. But to see that these people recognized and said, we're going to lose all over the ballot unless we get rid of you, Joe. it was still about how do we burn you after 50 years of loyal service to this party, to this cause. We're burning you down right now because we're worried about losing dog catcher in Anaheim, California.
And we're going to. And they did. You saw how Trump swept everything. But the crazy thing was, had Joe Biden not done that debate, they were going to continue.
Yes.
It would have continued up until the moment, and they wouldn't have quit trying to figure out a way to rig the election again. They would have worked so hard. But then that debate changed everything, because that's the one that they didn't even see coming. Or maybe they did. Maybe they already knew it. Maybe they set him up for it. Well, maybe they set him up for the fall.
They were already laying the groundwork. If you remember some of the reporting that we had from Caitlin Collins, where she was talking on CNN, he's prepping incredibly hard.
Yeah.
He's going to be so ready for this. Like, they had already laid all the groundwork. And then you had the other stuff that was going on at MSNBC. Remember, the importance of they weren't going to have any kind of audience there. That was negotiated between the two parties. Because...
And they could cut Trump's mic when they wanted to.
Right. They Not his, but Trump's. They arranged everything to go in his favor.
Why
that
Trump
being Joe
agree to
Biden.
that?
Because I think he recognized if I just get him on a stage,
it's over.
This is over. And it's what happened.
Auto pen too, just quickly.
Yeah.
Because I want to show you this, and you've probably seen it before. That's the Biden signature for the pardon for Hunter Biden. And if you look at it, it is feeble.
When he writes his name, now the rest of it looks like, okay, kind of like Joseph R. But when he gets to the B of Biden,
dude,
it's almost like he took 2 or 3 times to get it right.
Exactly right. And that's some of the things that James Comer was bringing up, is the fact that the auto pen being used on everything, with the exception of Hunter, up until the last minute.
Oh, Fauci got his with auto pen. That's another one. I'm like, let's revisit this.
Dude, we have to.
Because this is still the discussion point. Only the chief executive can issue these pardons, and these pardons have a whole lot of reach to them. They are almost ironclad when it comes to federal prosecution. Now, not state prosecution. Come on, everybody. Let's wake it up, states. But
y'all listening? Y'all paying attention?
But if we're able to prove, and James Comer's going about this, trying to prove that these were all done during auto pen, that Joe Biden didn't have anything to do with them. If he didn't sign them, legally, they don't count.
Mean? Yeah, what do they mean? They mean absolutely
He's got to physically
nothing.
sign them.
That's right. And we know, just in comparison, the dead giveaway is every one of them look the same except Hunter's. Because that's the only one he cared about. That's the only one that mattered to him. Even being sick, he was like, I got to save Hunter. And he did. That's the reason he signed that one versus auto-penning everything else that he had no idea was happening anyway.
But and again, I get Joe Biden making sure that his son was going to be scot-free, or at least giving him a blanket pardon to 2014. I get that. What disgusts me is that whoever else in this administration was running things on their way out, after letting in 10 to 15 million people, after basically wrecking our economy, telling us that the government was creating so many jobs, which it turns out they weren't. They were just adding more government jobs. Right. After they were pilfering, going through the Treasury, after they were handing out, we had it through USAID, $1.3 billion a day to the NGOs to continue the fight. After they raided the piggy bank and everything else, they then pardoned themselves on the way out using the power of the pen from Joe Biden to the tune of nearly 2,500 people in one day.
Unbelievable. This is the biggest conspiracy. This is the biggest corruption that our country has ever seen, and it's not even close.
It's a big day. There's so many angles to this.
You lived through the greatest corruption in American history, and you're just now learning about the depths of it today.
30 years from now, somebody is going to reach out to me and be like, hey, can you come on our show and do a story time to talk about the Biden administration? And hopefully I got 2 marbles still banging around and all my teeth and I'll love to get into it. But in the way that I talk about Teapot Dome scandal or the Great Leap Forward or any of the other crazy things that have gone on in this world, this is going to take the cake.
And it's not even
close. There's so much here.
It comes from every angle. The media lied to you. They were in on the corruption, and they lied to you. And now, just the cherry on top is somebody like Jake Tapper that vehemently defended Biden every day on TV. He's just fine. I've seen him. He's just fine. Then, when the coast is clear, writes a book to make millions of dollars off of the corruption that he saw and knew about.
And I'm disgustedly feeling compelled to have to go buy it because I have to read it.
I know. Which is exactly what he was hoping
I know.
for. This is his golden parachute because his career, who's hiring that fool? Who's hiring him?
This is the end.
Who's hiring any of these fools? Don Lemon? Where's he?
He's working on a podcast nobody listens to.
Joy Reid.
Same thing.
Where's she?
Instagram Messenger.
Jake Tapper. This is his golden parachute. This is him salvaging his career. When we continue on Extra 106.3, this debt didn't happen in the last 100 plus days. You know it. Now, one of the Trump administration officials is reminding the mainstream media.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Good morning. Let's talk about Kawasaki parts and where, especially you lawn care professionals, you know where to get your Kawasaki. You go over to Howard Brothers. That's how it goes. Landscapers, you've got lawns to cut and customers to impress. And let's face it, speed is of the essence. You don't have any time for downtime. The folks at Howard Brothers, they know exactly how that works. So what do they do for you? They store the best parts for your equipment. And the best out there is Kawasaki genuine parts, engineered for performance, built for the long haul, and trusted by professionals just like yourself. Kawasaki parts keep your engines at the top of their game. You know how it goes. More yards, more customers, more dollars, more keeping your staff busy. That is the name of the game. So if you need belts, filters, blades, or more, stop by Howard Brothers and get that brand that the landscapers trust. That's Kawasaki and Kawasaki parts.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 in Boston over the weekend against the Red Sox. That included a big 10-4 win yesterday afternoon. The Braves are now off tonight. They continue the road trip tomorrow in D.C. against the Washington Nationals. From the NBA, Game 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder are moving on to the Western Conference Finals after beating the Denver Nuggets 125-93. The final, the Thunder will now match up with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That series will begin on Tuesday night. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. You know, a great smile can make you more successful as well as make you happy. Yes, it's true. And your smile's waiting for you at my dentist, Dr. Dina Giesler, my friend for 30 years and dentist forever. This woman at Atlanta Smiles, atlantasmiles.com, the dentist with the doggy. It's really true, whether it's just regular cleaning or bridges or crowns or are your teeth bothering you a little bit, maybe a little ache or something, or your gums it's not going to get better on its own. Take it from me, I found that out the hard way. Taking care of your teeth and gums and everybody's happy. And by the way, you can relax with Dr. Dina. This is an individual, private VIP experience. The latest technology. She used AI to get my last thing done at my last visit. And don't forget the doggy. She's a little doggy to take a nap in your lap while you're getting your work done. And this staff, these ladies are angels, I promise you. You'll love going there. A veteran herself, Dr. Dina, 10% veterans discount off the top tongue when you call. 404-262-7733. Your smile's waiting. Get the doggy, atlantasmiles.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes. After that transformation, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check him out online at atlturfco.com.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Hey, it's Flounder, and the Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
I made the mistake Easter of buying a little box of Jordan almonds, and I love Jordan almonds. I used to get them at the movie theater, the Terra and whatever.
Yeah, you know,
no one can hear the movie because you're crunching these Jordan almonds,
and I get them out of the bag and everything.
Cannot stop.
What the hell? You're pleasing yourself, right?
Personal question.
Well, no. I'm just
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
This is a great post on X, and it feels the way I do this morning. It sums it up so well, and it's from at Politabunny, the Foo, if you follow her on X.
Oh, the Foo, yeah.
She's great. She's
FOO.
great.
Yeah.
Yes. It's possible to pray for Joe Biden and his family while still wanting them held to account for everything they did to this country. Perfect summary. Perfect. Because you're absolutely right. You can want him to get better, which doesn't seem likely. You can pray for his soul, which I encourage you to do. But wanting him to be held to account for the things he's done is not a bad thing. Wanting D.C. and all of the bureaucrats that led to this crap that we've put up with for the last 4 years to be held to account, including his family, is not a bad thing.
So I have a little different view of this. My view of this comes down to this. This is so much bigger than Joe Biden.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, no, that's right.
And in a story of a bunch of villains, Joe Biden's not the good guy, but he's not the worst. He's not the worst of the villains here.
He's not. Absolutely not.
From that standpoint, there is a part of me that goes, I don't wish ill of him. I think that what occurred was that, Joe, we're going along with this, and your family will be taken care of. You get another bite at the apple. Hunter can go make the money he's going to make. You're going to have the 120 shell companies. You're going to make your money off of this. You're going to leave, by the way, because you got cancer, Joe. You're going to leave with your family in a good place. In the meantime, we're going to use your power and use your status, and we're going to get done the things that we want to do in this country.
And ruin your name.
But
you'll be taken care of.
But your family's taken care of. I mean, is that a trade-off?
For him, it was, because he did it.
But I would think this. If you were to tell me that I had to go down a road, it's the Breaking Bad scenario. I don't know if you ever watched Breaking Bad.
Well, I never watched it, but I know it's the school teacher couldn't make enough, started selling meth.
He's got a cancer diagnosis. He's got a kid on the way, and he's got one who has a physical disability. He's like, I can't leave right now as a school teacher. There's not enough to take care of them. And so he goes down that road. If you told me there was a way that I'm going to make sure that my family's taken care of after I'm gone, but it might mean that, I don't know, whatever, it tarnishes my name
forever.
I think I'm going to be able to have my family look at me and go like, he did what he did for us. And I think that's the way they're looking at Joe Biden.
Absolutely right. All that's correct.
And maybe it's not noble.
No.
But it's not exactly the worst thing in the world for his family either.
Most everyone would do it.
I would imagine so. It'd be very difficult not to.
Yes,
and all he had to do was betray his country.
But that's where he needs to be held to account.
But that's where they're very morally flexible with this stuff.
That's where he needs to be held to account. That's where his family needs to be held to account. That's where the Democrat Party needs to be held to account. The Republicans that went along with it need to be held to account. All the people in the administration, every senator, every congressman, every person that knew it, Jake Tapper, all the media, they all need to be held to account. Problem is, none of them will, and you know it just like I do.
And by the way, because remember, you had the whole push when they were looking to have Ed Martin become, obviously the big wig district attorney in D.C., and you had Tom Tillis fighting against that, making sure, his situation with January 6th. So what did they do? All right, we're going to go and get somebody else, and now we're going to move him into a different higher level within the Justice Department. And he was the one who pointed out last night, we are going to be looking into all these auto pens. Like, we're going to make sure that the people that, more than likely, the people that auto penned for themselves probably had a big part in doing this to the country.
Oh, yeah. They were all
on my way out. I'm going to give myself a pardon for this.
Absolutely. What? There's the auto pen laying on the table. I might as well go ahead and use it. It's right there. Nobody will even know. I just hit the button.
Everybody else is doing it.
Everybody's exactly right.
And very middle school logic.
But it's the truth. It's what seems like happened. They all just said, dude, it was like, here's the auto pen, Los. You want to sign you one?
Here's my get out of jail free card. I'm going to take one with me.
Oh, dude. And then the mess that it all caused, the spending, you have California that is in dire straits. Gavin Newsom is even talking about, we can't pay for the illegal immigrants that are here anymore. We can't afford to. But this didn't happen overnight. And that's what Scott Bessent wants people to remember, because they tried to pin him down about the national debt, and he goes, wait.
Just like Sean Duffy said with our air traffic control system, we didn't get here in the past 100 days. It's the Biden administration and the spending that we have seen over the past 4 years. We inherited 6.7% deficit to GDP, the highest when we weren't in a recession, not in a war, and we are determined to bring the spending down and grow the economy.
Fair enough, but under President Trump's first administration, he added $8 trillion to the nation's debt in his first term. So there's plenty of blame to go around.
No. But let's review. We were in the rescue portion of COVID. The Biden administration was in the recovery portion. And Kristen, it would have been, if not for Senators Manchin and Sinema, who were no longer in the Democratic caucus, it would have been 4 or 5 trillion more.
Dude, he just nails it down, and Kristen Welker can't say a word because she knows he's right.
The Trump administration was spending about $5.5 trillion. That was pretty much the baseline that most every administration over the last several years had been spending. It went to $7 trillion during COVID. COVID relief, keep people at home, try and rescue their businesses. Right. But that was supposed to be the end of it. The problem is,
Biden was like,
the Biden administration created it as the new baseline as well. $7 trillion. He spent $7 trillion. I'm going to spend $7 trillion. If it was that big of an emergency, wouldn't have it curtailed? I mean, you can't give FEMA money out to people, right? So you're going to tell me suddenly we're going to keep spending in this way? That is the ridiculousness of it. You got a real emergency, people can't get their money.
Well, you got a real emergency. The dude in the White House has dementia and cancer. That's the emergency. That's the thing that they covered up and lied to, and then spent all the money in his name.
And so DOJ explicitly has pointed out we need to cut $2 trillion in spending. Why is that important? To get us back to the baseline of $5.7 trillion. We are closer. It's not perfect. We're closer to at least not adding debt at a wild number if we can stay right around $5.5 trillion in spending. That's the goal. Now, would I love to balance a budget eventually? Awesome. We haven't done that since the 90s.
It's going to be baby steps.
Haven't done it since the 90s. It's been 30 years since we've done that.
It is going to be baby steps. It has to be. The American people, they've proven they don't have the appetite for the real fight. It's going. I want it to happen. Los wants it to happen. We all do. It is going to be a while. It is going to be a while. Mark my words. When we come back, Jake Tapper now admits one of the Biden family members made millions, and it only took millions for Jake Tapper to actually admit it. next on Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
One of the things that Donald Trump has done, is doing, that pleases me greatly, is getting rid of this dangerous DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Look, folks, I told you 6 months ago, a year ago, that this word equity does not mean what you think it means. It is nothing about equality under the law. Let me see if I can highlight that for you. In Indiana, Democrats have their panties in a wad over a new anti-DEI law. They say it's a step backwards for diverse communities. Indiana State Representative Fadi Quadora, that's not F-A-T-T-Y, that's F-A-D-Y, says this. Now listen, see if this triggers you. But what this legislation ignores is that people have different starting points in life. Well, duh. What is she really saying? That everybody should have the same starting point in life. Everybody should be raised in a two-parent household. Well, good luck with that. And everybody should be raised in a household that is no richer or poorer than any other household. How the hell do you do that? Everybody should be raised in the same comfortable suburban neighborhood. And if they aren't, if their parents don't have the same income, if they don't live in the same nice houses, then the law, the government should step in and equal things out for them. Your parents didn't make as much money as somebody else's? Well, here's a check. We're going to try to bring you to the same starting point. Come on, folks. You know this is impossible. There is nothing that government can do to give everybody the same starting point. Just treat people equally under the law. That's as far as we can legitimately go. DEI is not that. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
If you're thinking about a new Cadillac, don't wait. Now's the time. Head to Jim Ellis Cadillac where the price is right now. Lock in your lowest price today before prices start to rise due to new tariffs.
Right now, Jim Ellis Cadillac has more than 170 vehicles in stock, on the ground and ready to take home today.
From the iconic Escalade and the sophisticated XT5 to the innovative electric Lyriq and the high-performance CT5, Jim Ellis Cadillac offers the models you know and love, along with the latest in luxury EVs.
And if you're shopping pre-owned, you'll find a great selection of certified vehicles too, thoroughly inspected and ready to roll.
But don't wait too long. Get yours today before prices go up and vehicle selection goes down. No pressure, no games, just a transparent, customer-first experience that makes buying easy. And after the sale, Jim Ellis Cadillac is still with you thanks to factory-trained technicians who will keep your Cadillac running strong.
Luxury is waiting, but with prices set to change, now's the time to buy. Visit Jim Ellis Cadillac, conveniently located on Peachtree Boulevard, just inside the perimeter.
Jim Ellis Cadillac, where you can always expect the best.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
What President Trump calls one big beautiful bill advances. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Approved last night by the House Budget Committee. Speaker Mike Johnson says,
I'm absolutely convinced we're going to get this in final form and pass it in accordance with our original deadline, and that was to do it before Memorial Day.
But Fox's Madeline Rivera reports.
Some GOP hardliners indicate the bill is still going to need changes before it clears the House. The House Budget Committee's vote to advance the bill is a turnaround after 4 GOP hardliners rejected it on Friday. Some of their concerns included Medicaid work requirements and spending.
The bill funds the president's agenda from border security to tax cuts. Democrats warn Republican Medicaid cuts will take some Americans' health coverage away. Former President Biden has just thanked everyone in a post on X for wishing him well as he now fights cancer.
He was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. Israel has issued an evacuation order for Palestinians in Gaza's second largest city after more deadly airstrikes over the weekend targeting Hamas. Israel is also allowing food deliveries again after a blockade.
Aid groups say that's put the territory's 2 million plus residents at risk of famine. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now says his forces will allow a basic quantity of food to be brought in to prevent a starvation crisis. He's previously accused Hamas militants of intercepting and taking humanitarian provisions.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. There's a $20,000 reward at the manhunt for 7 escaped prisoners in Louisiana who broke out of the Orleans Justice Center Friday.
The fugitives broke out through a hole they created in the wall hidden behind a jail cell toilet. Very Shawshank, right? Some of the 7 remaining escapees are facing murder charges for their previous crimes.
Fox's Todd Pyro. 3 others were recaptured Friday. America's listening to
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Does your friend listen to an old station whose news gives them the blues? Set your friend right. Tell him to download the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10, a fiery show today. As you might imagine, with all the things that started on Friday and then culminated yesterday with the announcement of the cancer diagnosis for Joe Biden that most likely he's had for quite some time. I think everybody recognizes that. I think everybody realizes that. I was just watching a piece on Morning Joe where they had Dr. Vin Gupta. He said he went back and researched on the White House website, not a recent report on a PSA test for Joe Biden in his most recent physical. So they did not have a PSA test, the prostate test.
At least not when administered in the White House.
That's exactly right. And he couldn't figure out why. Because
that's pretty standard.
Yeah, well,
for his age.
Right. And every other president had it, and it was a reported and part of their physical that they had shared.
I can just tell you from experience, this was what happened with my dad. So my dad is now about a decade removed, maybe a little bit longer, from having prostate cancer. And actually the problem was his doctor missed it the first time around.
Oh, wow.
Like he had the standard test and they missed it. And so it was the next situation. It was after he got shingles, had another doctor check him out and he was like, hey, he's like, you got prostate cancer. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah. He's like, you probably had it. He's like, I got checked like 6 months ago. He's like, they missed it. Now, the PSA test confirmed it. And so he is now big on like get the PSA test. So for anyone who is either thinking that they might have cancer or they're battling cancer or their cancer's in remission and they pay attention to it, a PSA test is pretty standard. So that is very surprising that it would not be administered in the White House.
Or not surprising at all because they knew it and they couldn't
situation.
Publish it.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Or at least if you ask me.
They understood. They knew.
They knew. They absolutely
The story on Sunday was about this cancer metastasizing and going into the final stages of when it gets really nasty. Credit to Lauren Loomer. She had the story a year ago.
Anybody else, and then they made fun of her. They called
her
for it. They attacked her, called her.
She said he's in the terminal stages of his illness.
Yep.
And when you hit that stage 4 with what he has, the great crime here is that America was never aware that somebody that they were electing for president or was running for president had this kind of form of cancer. Now, was it for the time being manageable? Probably.
Seems likely.
What I have read Because, again, my dad just had, just the surgery. That was it. Surgery, and that's what it was, and he's been clean. So we don't have that experience of what is a prolonged fight with prostate cancer. One of the discussion points has been hormonal therapy, and that one of the attributes of that is that it will start to create some issues with your mind as far as your cognitive abilities.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, that was just something that I was reading about of one of the possible explanations for he doesn't have dementia, but he's taking treatment for this. So it's almost which way do you want to go?
We'll
is
never
it
know the
both?
truth.
Does he have this? Is this? Is
We'll
it
never know
therapy
the
getting
truth.
to him? Yeah.
We will never know the full truth, ever.
Because
ever.
it was made a point within the statement that was released about how he was responding to treatment. And if you notice the treatment they pointed out, I believe it was hormonal in nature, that it was showing that it was responding to it. Well, that was one of the side effects that I was reading about, is that it can create some cloudiness of the mind when you are having that therapy.
We will never find out the full truth about Joe Biden. We may never find out the full truth about his family's crimes.
Not until the next round of books.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well,
we're 2 days. We're 2 days away from learning a good amount, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, right. Until somebody signs a big old check. You know what? I stand corrected, Los. You're exactly right. Until somebody gets a big enough check, and then they spill all the beans.
Oh, Jill's gonna have her tell all. My last days with Joe,
dude. How?
Because that Lady Macbeth is going to write that story about all the stuff she was dealing with.
Jill's book is going to be sort of like OJ's book. That I didn't do it, but if I did, here's how I would have done it.
If I cared.
Yeah. Holy cow. Because she wheeled him out for that View interview that he looked so horrible in. The BBC interview, she allowed him, knowing his health.
You know, it goes back to something, Los, you were saying last hour. It is really... Not that Joe Biden, I'm not saying he's not innocent in all of this, but you can be a bad guy and also be a victim. And it seems like that's what happened.
That's what I feel like. This entire scenario is a bunch of bad people. But I also think that if you want to talk about who's the greatest villain in this, man, Joe Biden's just as much as the big villain in all of this thing, as much as Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Ron Klain and all the staffers.
They just saw the opportunity and
they
don't
saw
care.
the opportunity without having to worry about an election or a stain on legacy.
Yeah.
How do you throw open the floodgates and let 10 to 15 million people come in? And then you get a guy like Mayorkas who's telling everybody, no, the border's secure, we're good.
Yeah.
No, it's totally fine. Everything's fine here.
I know it's 10,000 people a day. It's closed.
But it's closed.
Your eyes and ears are lying to you.
We're like Walmart closed. But listen, the whole place is packed. No, they're closed.
Nothing to see here.
But Joe ends up being...
he's the fall guy.
He's the fall guy in this. Again, he's not a sympathetic figure, but he is the, wow, they really squeezed you for everything they could, and then they tossed you aside.
That's exactly like a piece of garbage.
Yep.
Like a piece of garbage that had no value to anyone. And Jill stood there and let it happen.
We're not supposed to treat presidents this way. There was something you said off the air, and I think it bears repeating and bringing up. Jimmy Carter was not supposed to be rolled out in front of people like that on Election Day.
Do you remember
But that's
that?
how these people are.
Do you remember it when we were going into Election Day and Jimmy Carter's son allowed it to happen? If I'm not, was it at the Carter Center? Wherever it was, we'll look it up. We'll verify where it was. They pushed Jimmy Carter out there and they talked about how the last thing he wanted to do was vote. And he was in a very diminished state. Mouth hanging open.
He looked like a wax figurine.
Absolutely did.
And the worst part about this to me was that they were using it as a get out the vote. Right. Hey, if Jimmy can vote, the rest of you know what? That should have been a statement of, this morning, former President Carter went to go vote. He considered it to be very important, and he encourages all of you to vote. But you didn't need to make a public spectacle.
Made a complete spectacle out of him, and it was so gross. And when I saw it that morning, I was like, this is as low down as it gets. Little did I know, Jill Biden, what was happening. Well, I mean, I had an idea, but then when you now know the cancer diagnosis as well, this woman is, they're married. Like, your greatest protector is your spouse. There's nothing in this world I wouldn't do to protect my wife. Nothing. Same with you. And I would like to think that would be reciprocated. And with Jill, it wasn't. Or it certainly doesn't appear so.
To think last week, it was probably Jill's last opportunity to go on The View. And she thought to herself, hell yeah, let's do it. And I'll bring over cancel-riddled, dementia-riddled Joe with me. And when he can't answer questions, I'll butt in and answer for him. There's supposed to be a level, and I've said this on this radio program a number of times, and I know we can get tribal with our politics, but there's supposed to be a level of dignity for presidents. We have not had that many of them. You think about the history of this country, we're talking about it in the 40s here. Like, there are not a lot of men who've served as president. We are supposed to respect the office and consider that they should all have a certain level of dignity to them. And Joe, just like Jimmy didn't get any on the way out.
Zero.
And Joe certainly is not getting any on the way out either. And again, I hate his politics.
I do too.
Well, sorry, I only use hate for cancer and terrorism. I can't stand his politics.
Dislike his politics.
I can't stand any of the stuff that had happened over a 4-year period.
Jake Tapper making a grip of money off of Joe Biden's politics, off of Joe Biden's diminished state. Now, he protected him when he needed to. On CNN, he ran the protection scheme the whole time. No, Joe's just fine. There's so many cuts. We could play 1,000 cuts of Jake Tapper talking about how great Joe Biden is. Nothing to see here. It's all good, and you're blind as a bat if you're seeing this. But then, when Jake Tapper has a chance to make $1 million, he's going to tell you about the millions that Hunter made.
Trump was right. I mean, he did make a fortune from China, and Joe Biden was wrong. 4 million in income in 2017 and 2.2 million in income in 2018, most of which came from Chinese or Ukrainian interests. But this directly goes against what Joe Biden said in the debate in 2020 with Donald Trump. Take a listen.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about what are you talking about? China.
None of that is true. He made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
that is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
So it's from two different debates, but I mean, Trump was right. I mean, he did make a fortune from China, and Joe Biden was wrong.
Jake Tapper, why didn't you say that then? You knew it then. Why didn't you say it then? You knew that at some point. I think Jake Tapper's smart enough to go, I'm going to protect my career right now, because if I say this, it's career suicide. And now he's got the chance to make the same millions that the Biden family did. And he's going to. He's taking it. He played that maybe the smartest of anybody.
I can tell you that from somebody who was in a pretty cush position to then start spouting off the way I was doing in 2020 into 2021 and be told, hey, listen, it might make sense for you to go down the hall because
we're going to exile you down there with Tug.
The sports guys are a little bit concerned that, you're kind of pointing out some stuff that, it might kind of hurt the brand. Okay. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, you better be pretty pot committed to it. And he wasn't. He looked at it as, I need to say what I need to say for now. And then when I'm on my way out, now I'm going to give out all the goods. That is not integrity.
No, it's not. No,
it's not.
But it's brilliant.
And I think about
it's
even a guy like Clay Travis, and it's worked out significantly well for Clay. Man, Clay stuck his neck out talking all about the same stuff I was into, but he was really pushing for, why are we not letting young people play sports during COVID?
Right.
It's one of the healthiest things they can do. It's great for mental health. It's great for them to get outside. And you had people, you're going to kill grandma, Clay. You're going to do it takes a lot to get out there and do it. And so I don't look at anything Jake Tapper is doing as somehow heroic would be too strong. I don't even think that he's suddenly doing his job as a journalist. This is just
making money.
It's a money grab.
That's exactly what it is. But the way he played it, you got to give him credit. You have to give him credit. He went on CNN every night and told you everything's fine because that kept the paycheck coming in.
It's low down.
It's completely low down. But all of it is.
But I think about this. There's situations now that I see, especially when it comes to youth sports, where I will go, well, that's definitely going to be helpful for that girl down the road, but it's low down right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to decide, do I want to get involved in the mud like everybody else, or do I want to stay above the fray? But the mud's where the money's at.
Well,
the
now,
mud, you want to trade out or not?
But now the mud isn't even that bad of a place to be because everybody's saying it. He didn't risk anything. He didn't roll any dice. He played it smart, but he knew then he didn't say anything to keep the check coming in. Now that he's out, He's able to keep the checks rolling in again. Dude, he played it better than anybody.
How wild.
He was the first out of the gate to do it.
Yeah, he had to. How wild, though, that this is the response from basically the Democrat Party, from the CCP West, all right? Their response is, maybe we can curtail this tell-all, and you'll find out how corrupt we are, by pointing out that Joe Biden has cancer.
They're using that not to let you know the truth about the president. There's nothing noble in what they're doing here.
No, they just decided, if you want to go down this road, how about we go down a little dirtier and let's see how it makes you look. Let's see how it makes you look. And of course, the response from every one of the Democrat acolytes, all their supporters, says, well, you can't possibly go after Joe now. Tapper, what's wrong with you? You're going to actually put this book out? Don't you have any care for a man who's in stage 4 cancer?
And that is all lip service because they don't have any care.
They never cared anyway.
They never cared. And more importantly, they didn't care about America. They were willing to let America burn just to maintain power. They will absolutely use whatever means necessary. They don't care about you. They don't care about the country. They don't care about Joe Biden.
I want you all to consider something. And bring this up with your friends at the water cooler whenever you're having this discussion about what's going on with Joe.
Because it will come up today.
See what happens with people. So one of the aspects, and by no means am I a doctor, but one of the things that you understand about cancer is when it comes to cancer cells, it's about either starving them or feeding them. All right? So like, for instance, when you go through, let's say, a cleanse, that does a lot for resetting the body. That's why people will talk about, hey, don't eat for 3 days, and now let's start your process. And so there's a lot of oncologists will talk about, if you can go through 72 hours of not eating and then you start this medication, it helps reset your cells, and this is what it does, and it helps starve cancer cells. They were juicing that man up for 4 years. They were giving him drugs to get him going.
And you could see it.
And to fire him up and to be able to be all animated and all that sort of stuff.
Any speeches, State of the Union, whether the Pennsylvania speech where he called half the country extremists.
They were juicing up his cancer to keep him working. It is weekend at Bernie's, the presidency. They were juicing him up with stuff that they knew if there was ever going to be a way to let's kick this cancer into overdrive. Like, yeah, listen, we're dealing with it right now, but listen, if we push it a lot harder, it might metastasize.
They were fine with it.
They were fine with it.
They were willing to roll the dice on Joe's behalf.
Jill was fine with it.
All of them.
I don't know how much Joe was. The rest of them were.
Well, no, he had no idea what was going on. He had no clue what was going on.
Hunter, all of them.
All of them, dude. That's why Jake Tapper specifically pointed out Hunter made that fortune.
His former running mate Obama's like, juice him up.
Whatever it takes.
Make him look, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. We have to get our goals accomplished. And for the most part, they did, Los. They got everything they wanted to do. They stole the election. They opened the floodgates. They ran up the deficit. They knew exactly how to bring America to its knees. They wanted you worshiping at the altar of government and used every opportunity to do it.
In every situation like this. Now, the border closed it. All right, good. Let's keep it moving. Next thing is, here's all the people that are here illegally. They're using the courts to curtail what we know we need to do. And they will use their legislative body. Now, this is the smart part about what's going on. The big, beautiful bill, man, I hope it's not as nasty as it's starting to sound. But I'll give it, until I can read it and see it, I'm not just going to be like, I'm taking this person's word for it or that person's word for it. Want to see what the numbers are going to be. But that looks like that is going to end up being able to get through budget reconciliation without any support from the Democrats. Fine. That's the way it's going to be. But the way of fixing this country, they're going to do everything they can to keep us from fixing it because they like it just the way it is.
Due process for the illegals that they brought in, none for you as an American citizen. You have no say in who's in your country. And when the president tries to clean that up, they're using the law against you. They're using the law that was meant to protect you against you. Next on the Morning Extra, CNN trying to set up a childlike premise on this illegal immigration debate in the U.S. Next on Extra 106.3, 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts, 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
1063 is Atlanta's home for NASCAR, and we have live races every weekend from across the country. Check out Extra1063.com for the full schedule and join us this weekend for live NASCAR action.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
Military veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but lack trusted connections to expedite their path to success. That is, until they meet the Warrior Alliance. The Warrior Alliance goes the extra mile to reach veterans in their communities so they do not have to take this journey alone. With over 40 partners across 10 service areas, your donation goes a long way toward achieving maximum impact for a veteran and their family. Go to thewarrioralliance.org to donate today and commit to helping the Warrior Alliance change thousands of lives for the better.
Its intelligent technology is intuitive. Its responsive performance, responsible. Turbo power with a hybrid assist, a digital yet sensual cockpit, and sporty elegance helps make the C-Class a driver's delight and paradise for passengers. Get an exceptional offer on the 2025 Mercedes-Benz C300 sedan, just $499 per month for 36 months with $5,043 due at signing, exclusively from RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this vehicle and many other models during the Mercedes-Benz Dream Days sales event. Visit today to see how to qualify. Special lease rate available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Service through RBM of Atlanta, Sandy Springs through May 31st, 2025. Excludes tax, take, title, and Georgia Lemon Law fees. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit us at rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
You need a pre-owned car or truck, but you don't need the headache of searching for one. Spending hours calling dealerships, then spending half the day filling out paperwork. Come on. You need the Honest Car Guy.
Hey, this is Tom from the Honest Car Guy. We help you buy your next pre-owned car or truck honestly. We guarantee you each vehicle we sell will come with a copy of the bill of sale, showing what we paid for it. You pay what we pay, plus an honest fee. Guaranteed.
Get an Honest Car Buy from the Honest Car Guy. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit honestcarguy.com.
Threads by the Atlanta Braves Clubhouse store is the perfect place to shop for elevated game day apparel right here in the Battery, Atlanta. With limited edition releases only available at Threads, fans are sure to find one-of-a-kind pieces that fit their individual style. Shoppers can look forward to exclusive collabs with players and alumni like Michael Harris II, Andrew Jones, and more throughout the season as well. Visit the Threads Clubhouse store today to shop the store's fresh take on Braves gear. Atlanta Braves baseball. We are Braves country.
Securing America.
U.S. military commanders will be instructed to identify troops in their units who are transgender or have a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. The latest move aimed at fulfilling President Trump's order to remove trans service members from the military. After the Supreme Court lifted a hold on the military's plan to separate trans troops, the department says about 1,000 service members have volunteered to leave. While the legal fight over the trans ban works its way through the courts, some trans service members say they just want to serve. Stacey Wiley's partner, Lindell Wiley, is an Air Force service member stationed in Germany who has served the military for 17 years and is just 3 years away from retiring with full benefits.
My partner is a 2-time combat veteran, and we have worked really hard to get this close to retirement, and we wanted to fight tooth and nail until the end.
Active duty trans troops have until June 6th to voluntarily identify themselves, while National Guard and Reserves have until July 7th. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Cobb County School Board approved a $1.8 billion budget, with Superintendent Chris Ragsdale describing it as tighter than usual. Some budget concerns were raised about funding fleet maintenance of the school district's buses and over 1,000 county vehicles. The biolab facility that caught fire last September and led to shelter-in-place orders will not reopen as cleanup efforts continue. The Pool Chemical Company says they will not restart production but will continue to operate their distribution center. Biolab faces a number of lawsuits and was fined $60,000 by OSHA. And a beloved gas station chain is getting 2 more Georgia locations for your vacation drives. Buc-ee's will open the new locations in Brunswick near St. Simon's Island and another near Macon. Today's weather, partly cloudy and muggy today. Temperatures reaching the upper 80s with a possibility of scattered showers throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
What is your opinion of the news that came out yesterday? I guess we could rewind it. Go back to Friday with the audio coming out of the Robert Hur interview with Joe Biden, the craziness of that, sending you through the weekend, the discussions that happened, and then yesterday with the diagnosis of stage 4 aggressive prostate cancer for Joe Biden. Where do you stand on it? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like we do, that this is a much greater story than it's being presented?
404-741-1230 if you'd like to join in, or if you just want to tell Tug that he looks pretty today on YouTube, more than welcome.
Please do that.
And think about how wild we've had 72 hours. Remember, Friday afternoon, the left is celebrating. They've got this monster victory. They're like, it's been a tough week of news. Everything's gone badly for us. And yet the Supreme Court ruled in our favor. Yep. Now, what was I always pointing out about the Enemies and Aliens Act? You have to declare war on the country in order for it to be used. That was the basis of all of it. So I'm very happy that we got to deport the amount of people that we did using that law. That was good. Now know that you need to move on to the next thing.
But remember, what's next.
They thought at like Friday at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Fireworks going on.
Fireworks, we got them.
We're back.
We're back. We got a victory in the Supreme Court.
We're back. The conservative Supreme Court, albeit.
And then the audio dropped. Now, again, by the way, when you say the conservative Supreme Court, from the minute that thing went into effect, I said, here's the problem with it, and here's where I don't think it survives the courts. I was very at it now. Did I want it to? Absolutely.
Of course.
But, man, that went to the back burner. Like 2 hours later, the audio starts dropping.
Sound like Bug Baloo.
Gone. Yeah, gone. Suddenly, everyone on that, hey, we won, turned into, what the hell just came out, and how bad does Joe Biden and the rest of us look?
We just lost again. We suck again.
Because the more of that audio you listen to, and again, I credit Miranda Devine. She's the author of Laptop from Hell.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one who put out the entirety of the audio. Because the tapes were made, it's over 2 days, October 3rd and 4th of 2023. And are there times where Joe Biden sounds with it? Yes. The audio that was put out there was the worst because he was asked about legal matters, such as, why did you have these documents? Again, he's not supposed to have these documents in his garage.
And stammered around.
And that's when the spinning started.
He had to ask his lawyer questions about when he was vice president.
And that's when it sounded as badly as it did when he's talking about his son dying in 2017. They had to clarify, Mr. President, it's 2015. I'm sorry, if you've lost a family member, you tend to remember when it was.
Yeah.
And again, you're dealing with a lot of stuff here. And so, to then have all of it play out over the weekend and then culminate with yesterday afternoon. At least if you were sitting in my house on Saturday when I had a person tell me, oh, yeah, they're going to come out with a cancer diagnosis, and then 24 hours later they did. I'm like, where did you get that from?
Goodness gracious. And you said your friend, not political at all.
Not political at all.
Just happened to run across the right thing at the right time.
And she's the one who said, yeah, they're going to come out with a cancer diagnosis in the next 24 hours.
Goodness gracious. I shocked, not the right word, very surprised. Especially stage 4 aggressive, because every doctor that I've seen talk about it so far on every network has said this probably goes back to 2021, at least.
Yes,
if not
they
even
say
earlier.
5 years at the least.
Yeah,
that it's a 5 to 10 year procedure. If this, and again, we're not doctors.
By no means, but it's what everybody's saying. It's what every doctor's saying.
Listening to doctors, and I'll start reading off the list of names because I was going through them all last night. I ended up staying up well after when I thought I was going to go to bed. Like 11:30, 11:40, I'm in bed. I don't think I went to sleep till 12:45 because I kept reading one doctor after another. I wanted to get like a pretty good idea of this. And so many of them kept saying the same things. First off, you would never miss a cancer diagnosis when you're the president. Unless you would have to basically be not looking for it, which you had some of the information on that.
Dr. Van Gupta said the fact that it was not reported, a full PSA test for Joe Biden in his most recent physical, it was not reported at all. Yet it was for every other president, every other physical that they did. So it seems very convenient that it was left out.
And the other point that was made by these medical professionals was there is, in their clinical experience, outside, and one of them pointed out, outside of the VA, where oftentimes you'll have soldiers that will not be able to see a doctor for 5 to 10 years. It's like, yeah, they might show up and you find them with, here's prostate cancer at stage 4. It's like, but when somebody is the president, there's no way that just happened out of nowhere. They said more than likely he's been dealing with it for 5 to 10 years before it metastasized.
And less than a year ago, he was running for president still. And you were told that he was just fine. Everything's just fine.
Less than 6 months ago, he was still in office.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Signing pardons.
Well, we're not sure about that. The signing pardons part. Somebody was signing them on his behalf. It was being done. We don't. The only one we're certain of, or we feel kind of certain of, is the Hunter Biden one, because you can see the difference in the penmanship. The auto pen versus Joe stumbling on the B of Biden, and it looks very feeble. But yes, but to your point, yes, not arguing that. Someone was signing those on his behalf.
If any man who goes to get a physical, any man goes get a physical every year, if you're over the age of 40, your doctor is going to twist your arms like, yeah, I know you don't want to get your prostate checked, but it's time.
Dude, you walk in, let me tell you, because mine's coming up, I know the same, and I just mean the physical, but I know what comes along with the physical every year. And as soon as I walk in to the room, I see it sitting on the counter. You know what it is. It's a little tube. And that's what they're about to check you with.
Yep.
You know it's coming.
This is why I demand the PSA.
That's right.
I flat out told them, because, again, given this scenario that happened to my father where they missed it.
Yeah, which I would imagine is so eye-opening.
You're not missing it with a PSA. In fact, you do the research on it, go with the PSA. Again, not a doctor, just suggesting do your own research, and then I'd rather have you checking my blood for any of these cancer indicators rather than you testing with your finger.
But the idea that they didn't know that this was there last year
is bullcrap.
Okay, so that's an interesting aspect because of all people, Dr. Drew Pinsky, television doctor, guy who's dealt with prostate cancer. All right, so like checking the boxes here. So this is one of them I was reading last night and reading through the thread. So it's 13 hours ago. He says, to be fair, beginning with the finding of a nodule and then discovering advanced disease does not pass the sniff test. Someone not receiving adequate or routine health care, this would make sense, but does not fit the level of medical supervision given to POTUS. It's exactly what we've been hearing from medical doctors. They're like, there's no way
that they missed
that this would occur in this way.
Urologist Dr. David Schusterman on News Nation says it's insanely unlikely someone who gets annual checkups to not have their developing cancer noticed. There's no way. It's just like Dr. Vin Gupta said on MSNBC. The only piece of information that I'll probably trust from MSNBC today is the fact that it wasn't listed in his physical, his most recent physical, probably with intent.
We've pointed out Nicole Saphier, physician, New York Times author. Dr. Saphier ended up saying this. This was 10 minutes ago. She said Biden's 2021 health report noted a colonoscopy and skin checks for colon/skin cancer screening. If he was screened for common cancers, he was likely screened for prostate too. Cancer screening decisions may shift with age and expected lifespan, yet Biden continued screenings. She's like, there's no way. Like, they would have known.
Of course they did.
And they would have never wanted everyone to find out. They would publish to you, hey, he's dealt with skin cancer in the past.
Yeah, we knew about that.
But then you have him in 2022 at a public event telling everyone he has cancer.
He said it out loud. Do you have that gut? Let's play that again.
2022, they're talking about the oil and gas industry, and he starts pointing out that, well, this is the reason why I have this and everyone else does.
And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Then Joe Biden's administration, the White House and the media and the press corps, everybody. Well, he misspoke. No, he didn't. Now we know for sure he did not misspeak. He told you the truth unintentionally. They did not want that out there. The only reason they're dropping it now is because they're trying to combat the information that's coming out in Jake Tapper's book in a couple days.
Nicole Sapphire, again, Dr. Sapphire is pointing this out when it came to prostate cancers, PSA exams, and many patients are diagnosed with stage 4. But she goes on, Biden's cancer may have developed 6 months ago or 6 years ago. All that matters is whether he withheld a diagnosis while he was president of the United States of America.
I believe he did. I believe the people around him did. I believe this was all intentional. I believe every bit of it was done on purpose, with purpose, to mislead the American people, because they didn't want you to know that he was incapable of being president. He shouldn't have been president after he lost the election. Prior to losing the election, when he had the bad debate on stage, he should have not been. He wasn't capable, physically capable, of being president. Maybe all 4 years, but definitely in that last year.
The critical element of the 25th Amendment, which was what they used as, in my opinion, as the threat to get him out of there. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, from how the story goes, he was contacted. They contacted Joe after the disastrous debate performance and threatened him with the 25th Amendment. And he decided to bow out. Now, part of the problem with the 25th Amendment is it deals with presidential incapacity. That's how it's written. So the president is, to what level do you consider incapacity? Has he been shot in a coma? Okay, incapacity. That's where the power moves over to the vice president. Is he on medication for surgery? That's how Kamala Harris was the president for about 11 minutes. Okay, like that happened. What do you do when you have dementia and also cancer?
You are incapacitated. You are not capable of being the president.
And that's the argument. That's why the 25th was alive in the way that it was. That's why I believe that they knew they always had it in their back pocket. And
if they needed it.
And if they needed it, they could go to it. And they went to it, and there wasn't a lot that the Biden family could do at that point because they knew, whether it's for 6 months or 6 years, he has cancer and dementia.
And on top of that, the Biden family couldn't say a word when they decided to kick Joe to the curb.
No, because they have to maintain the powers.
And the Democrats and everybody in that White House knew what they had been doing. They knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real. They knew all the money that they'd been making off China and labs in Ukraine. They knew it all. That's the Trump card, no pun intended.
But 25th Amendment, now suddenly you don't have the ability. No one in the White House has the ability to auto-pen nearly 2,500 pardons.
Right.
Now it falls over to Kamala Harris, and you're the president, and here's what, and you don't know if she to me, I would give her the goodwill that she's smart enough to go, this is going to look bad on me. You're not doing this.
Yeah, I'm not signing blanket pardons
like he was.
Absolutely not. Or whoever did it on his behalf.
This was a negotiation.
No question about it.
This was a negotiation amongst the powerful people, and it was disgusting all the way around. And Joe Biden, if we ever tell this story the right way, it's going to be that, yeah, he was the big guy in it until he wasn't. And then they took over that power, and he was just a pawn in the game after that point.
He was nothing but a puppet. I don't know that he ever truly had any power, ever. I think he was told every move to make from the day he was elected. From that day, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton said, this is what we are going to do. This is what you are going to do. And because, again, they had him. They knew all of the illegality. They knew about all the money making. They knew Hunter was doing. They knew it all. So they had him under their thumb, and they used it.
This is not revisionist history, people. Think back. 2016, Joe Biden has just finished 5th in Iowa. Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar are the two leading people in every single one of the Democrat polls. And the Democrats cleared the path to let Joe be the guy, win South Carolina, in part, not because they thought he was going to win, because they thought Trump was going to win easily.
And they wanted to use him as the sacrificial lamb.
And COVID hit.
Yep. And that changed everything.
That changed the game.
And let me tell you, though, they were just fine with that because they had him under their thumb the entire time.
Yeah.
Like this was it was just the best thing that could happen.
Joe's going to go along to get along, and that's how it's going to be.
And he knows he has to. He knows he has to. He has no way out. because all you had to do is tell the truth about Hunter Biden's laptop and the presidency comes down. The wall completely comes down. When we continue on Extra 106.3, Trump, being the comedian that he is, tells the truth about the difference in his and Biden's treatment as president. Next on Extra 106.3, 8 o'clock hours, brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert, 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 in Boston over the weekend against the Red Sox. That included a big 10-4 win yesterday afternoon. The Braves are now off tonight. They continue the road trip tomorrow in D.C. against the Washington Nationals. From the NBA, Game 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder are moving on to the Western Conference Finals after beating the Denver Nuggets 125-93. The final, the Thunder will now match up with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That series will begin on Tuesday night. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Life is unpredictable, but when trouble comes, you need a team you can trust. At Ace Second Chance Bail Bonds, we've been helping families for nearly 20 years, providing fast, professional, and discreet service. With 12 locations across Metro Atlanta and Birmingham, we're available 24/7 to get your loved one home, quick and with care. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call 404-BAIL-OUT, that's 404-BAIL-OUT, or visit atlbail.com today.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
So, the doc says I have ED. ED. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's just an abbreviation for a condition so many men have. If I was to be honest, I probably also have a little OCD. I know I have a great HMO. Heck, I even have 3 weeks of PTO. Look, don't let a few letters get you down. If you have ED, there's HELP. Go see Dr. Deal at Total Body Therapy of Georgia. He's an ED specialist that will turn your life around PDQ. ED happens to a lot of men as we age. And just FYI, Dr. Deal can give you back the confidence you need to perform on the JOB. So, ready to take the first step? Quit yelling WTF at your little BFF and visit tbtofga.com. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. They can fix your ED ASAP. And before you know it, you'll be screaming OMG.
I'm getting in the game. The world won't be the same. I'm good to go.
Call 404-777-1911 or visit tbtofga.com. Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
Donald Trump has a very good comedic timing. Joe Rogan pointed it out. We've talked about it. It's well known that he's got a little bit of comedian in him. And I want you to hear him talk about the questions he gets versus the questions that Joe Biden would get when he was president, when he was in office.
They're like throwing it up. How was your breakfast today? What kind of ice cream are you having? It's vanilla. It's vanilla and chocolate. Oh, great. Nobody ever asked me what flavor ice cream I'm eating. Okay.
And there's not even a comparison. And do you know how many times that ice cream thing came up? Because Joey loves some ice cream. Boy, he'd be eating ice cream every day. Or it certainly felt like it every day. We'd see him on the news every night. But that's the thing. Now you know why Joe was not able to answer the questions. He had no idea. Between the diminished faculties of what we expect is dementia, or, as Los brought up, the treatment for cancer that he had definitely had for the last several years. It's not a last 100 or 200 days by any means. And that treatment, the hormone treatment, causing brain cloudiness.
The hormone treatment, and this is, again, I'm not a doctor. Neither is Tug.
Wouldn't even pretend to be.
Jure might be studying for such things.
Handsome devil.
Rock doctor.
There you go. He's a rock doctor.
That's right. Let's go.
I'm a doctor of rock. But reading so much of this is, again, it's about feeding or starving cancer cells. And one of the discussion points has been all of the juicing up that they did to Joe Biden. The drug cocktails, the stuff where when he would have trouble with volume control or when he would just be super animated. Like if you go back, and I'd challenge anybody. I mean, we could do it tomorrow. If you go through his debate performance, and then the next day, I think he was in like North Carolina campaigning, and he's back yelling again and speaking really fast. It's like, oh, they juiced him up again.
That's right. He had the cocktail.
The problem is that you're probably feeding cancer cells at that point too.
Which is awful to think about. But they were willing to do it. They were willing to let him.
And maybe he was cognizant enough to know the power.
Do you think? Because I don't. I doubt it, dude.
I don't know. I mean, you never know with what you understand. I mean, so much of what happens is there becomes, for anyone who's dealt with this stuff, you know this to be true, there becomes a childlike understanding of what's going on at the time. And if you're told this is what you want, some people go along with, okay, that's what I want.
Well, but that's my point.
Right. Like, how much do you really know?
If they led him to saying, yes, this is what I want, then I could buy that.
Like my grandmother, at times, she just wants to stay home, or she wants to go shop, or she wants to go gamble.
Yeah.
And then there are times where that's not where she's at. And now they're, very fortunate for my family. Most of the time she's very lucid, but there are those times at night when she's not. And so that's the, which one are you getting? How often is Joe Biden lucid?
It seemed it was hit and miss because you could almost tell it by the way he presented himself that day. Was he whispering?
Yeah.
Was he mumbling? Like, what was it they were getting? And it seems like, just as a speculating, complete speculation, were the days that he mumbled and whispered and couldn't make the point that he was trying to make, or didn't make sense. His story went in circles. It just never added up. Or those the days that they didn't give him the drug cocktail. Maybe they're afraid to.
There's the MSNBC walk off.
Yes, when he just got up and walked off set.
When he just walked up set. They have their exclusive with President Biden, and he just gets up and leaves. Like they finished the interview. Thank you, Mr. President.
And usually, just like when we have guests in here, Angela Morabito's in. When her segment's done, she don't just get up in the middle and walk out. She sits there until the camera pans to someone else, and then they escort them aside, or they just wait until they go to the commercial break.
They go to commercial break. Hey, when we get back, you throw your teas out, you go to commercial break.
And the guest has a nice smile.
Has a big smile on everybody, and then, okay, clear. That's how it works in television. He got up during the end of the segment and started walking off.
There is something that's just not right about it. And now we know what it was. Or at least We have an idea. I guess we always had an idea. We've known for the entirety of his presidency that something wasn't right.
We just wondered how severe. Like the discussion had been quite a bit. All right, if he's got dementia, you have people that when they have Alzheimer's or dementia, this might be a 10-year process. And then you kind of wonder, like, well, how long has he been in this process? Stage 4 cancer is considerably different than that.
That's right.
But again, according to those doctors that know, they're like, there is no way, based on his level of professional care, the best in the world, that this is somehow new to them. It can't be.
They knew exactly what was happening. They knew exactly what was. And from the get-go, they probably knew this prior to him even being the nominee way back when. They probably knew then because they would. This is, again, speculation, but I feel like they were devious enough. They're so power hungry that they would put a man knowing that they could control him in the position.
Well, they were cheerleading. Remember, we can go back a year ago, and he issues the challenge to Donald Trump, which is the video with the 5 different jump cuts we went through where he is pointing out, I'll take you on anywhere you want, big guy. I hear you're available on Wednesdays. And everyone like, yeah, look how Joe is totally with it. You and I went, there's 5 jump cuts in there. That is not one complete piece of audio. We talked about even when he was doing his State of the Union addresses, we can see the windows are blacked out. This is pre-recorded. This was done earlier so this could be done. They had a fake Oval Office that Alina Habba, one of the lawyers to the president, found. She was like, listen, there's a fake Oval Office where they settled all. They set up this giant teleprompter so it made it look like he was actually in the office. It was a TV stage. It was not available.
It was a sound stage.
How much did they build to give the illusion that he was in charge while the machine, the USSR CCP-like machine, was actually calling the shots? And what do they care about? It's not about whoever's in charge. It's the party.
That's right.
The party.
The machine, it's all they cared about is the machine. And how did they feed the machine? By bringing in millions and millions and millions, knowing that they would vote for them and giving them everything. That's how they fed the machine and how they were going to bring America to its knees. And they were so close. What they did in 4 years is unheard of in American history. And they were about to hand it off to Kamala Harris because she wasn't going to be in charge either. She was going to be the next.
You're the next
figurehead.
You are the next hood ornament.
That's
okay?
right.
The machine is the machine, and here's the hood ornament where we go. Look, it's Kamala. It's Joe. No, the machine is the party. The car is the party. And so I have a hard time when I see this sort of stuff. So Joe Biden has an X out there, a post, and it's him and Jill Biden. And she's holding on to that evil little cat.
Oh, my Lord, dude.
Because I already look at her as, you're just evil. Like, there's Joe smiling, trying to tell you, hey.
I'm good.
I'm fine. Here's what he says. Cancer touches us all. Like so many of you, Jill and I have learned that we are the strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support. I can't help but look at that woman and just look like it's like demon mean. Like, you marched him out onto The View last week. You treated him like a child after he embarrassed himself in front of the entirety of the nation. You sat there and you made him go up on stage again and you started talking to him like he was 4 years old. You did great, Joe. You answered all the questions. Yay, everybody. Woo.
Let the man be.
Let the man be. He should have been sitting on a Delaware beach with a comfy blanket, listening to whatever he wanted to. Let him be. And yet, because again, I wasn't worried about losing to him, and I certainly wasn't worried about losing to Kamala Harris. What I was more concerned about was, why don't you let the man relax? It's a president.
I mean, you used him up. God. I mean, I don't know that there's a more giant example of just using someone. Yeah, you ever seen that happen when like a friend of yours is being used by someone and you know it's happening? And it's just that horrible feeling for them. And you probably aren't able to tell them because they will lash out at you, be mad at you for you telling them that. It's what Joe was being used like nothing I've ever seen in my whole life.
I want to touch on this next hour. It really is the difference between them and us. And it's how we treat human life. It's complete, and it's showing right out in front with this entire story. the difference in how this is treated. It's completely different.
That's what we'll talk about in the next segment on Extra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station. 404-741-1230, 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert, 770. Get heat, centralheat.com. Got a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update coming your way, and then more of the Morning Extra.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
One of the things that Donald Trump has done, is doing, that pleases me greatly, is getting rid of this dangerous DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Look, folks, I told you 6 months ago, a year ago, that this word equity does not mean what you think it means. It is nothing about equality under the law. Let me see if I can highlight that for you. In Indiana, Democrats have their panties in a wad over a new anti-DEI law. They say it's a step backwards for diverse communities. Indiana State Representative Fatty Quadora, that's not F-A-T-T-Y, that's F-A-D-Y, says this. Now listen, see if this triggers you. But what this legislation ignores is that people have different starting points in life. Well, duh. What is she really saying? That everybody should have the same starting point in life. Everybody should be raised in a two-parent household. Well, good luck with that. And everybody should be raised in a household that is no richer or poorer than any other household. How the hell do you do that? Everybody should be raised in the same comfortable suburban neighborhood. And if they aren't, if their parents don't have the same income, if they don't live in the same nice houses, then the law, the government should step in and equal things out for them. Your parents didn't make as much money as somebody else's? Well, here's a check. We're going to try to bring you to the same starting point. Come on, folks. You know this is impossible. There is nothing that government can do to give everybody the same starting point. Just treat people equally under the law. That's as far as we can legitimately go. DEI is not that. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Donald Trump told the girl Mexico president, hey, you know, we can send our freaking troops down there and wipe out these freaking cartels for you. She said, no. And the reason is she's a freaking coward.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
The warm air, the beautiful weather, and the sounds of baseball. It's got you thinking about hitting the road. And no matter where your adventures take you, Subaru of Gwinnett has a vehicle to get you there safely and in style. Like the 2025 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance. More than the Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4 or the 2025 Subaru Forester, the SUV for all you love. It's the right-sized SUV for all the adventures ahead with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
A thank you from former President Biden. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. For all the support he's gotten since he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones.
Presidents Trump and Obama and former Vice President Harris are among past and present world leaders and others wishing former President Biden a successful recovery from prostate cancer. The former president posting on X a picture smiling next to his wife, writing, "Cancer touches us all. Like so many of you, Joe and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support."
That's Fox's Chris Foster. A Biden statement says the aggressive prostate cancer may be treated with hormone therapy. President Trump wished the former president a fast and successful recovery. Next hour, he's supposed to have a phone call with Russia's leader. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker tells Fox
Vladimir Putin will listen to President Trump, and I think President Trump's decisive diplomacy is forging a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire.
But Fox's Peter Ducey reports from the White House.
If White House officials determine that Putin is not negotiating in good faith, the president could soon drop some additional sanctions on Russia.
After the Trump-Putin call, the president is supposed to have a conversation with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Israel is ordering Palestinians to evacuate Gaza's second largest city as they ramp up operations against Hamas following deadly weekend airstrikes. Israel is also going to allow food to be sent into Gaza after a blockade because of starvation concerns. People are out salvaging what's left of homes. Tornadoes turned to rubble in several states over the weekend. Most of the 28 people killed were in Missouri and Kentucky, where Fox's Katie Byrne reports from Laurel County.
One survivor named Ida told me she got in her bathtub with 4 other family members. They lied on top of each other, holding each other. And after the tornado passed, they were outside pulling their neighbors from underneath rubble.
It's bad. We lost everything except some in the house, not much. The roof is leaking. We need help.
America's list.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, "No, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out." It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Hey, it's your old pal Neil Bortz. I'm back on Atlanta's only conservative news talk station, Extra 106.3. Okay, here's more of the Morning Extra.
Tug and Los on a very busy Monday morning with all the news about former President Joe Biden that has come out starting on Friday with the release of the biggest portion of the Hur tapes, the interview with Robert Hur and Joe Biden, where in some of them he's coherent, as Los had pointed out, and then some of it he's just off the rails, and it usually came down to legality when he was off the rails.
The story for most of the media was, listen to how he sounds. I'm like, the story for me was, listen to how Robert Hur and the Justice Department covered it up. They were looking at it saying, we've got him dead to rights on felonies that we are basically trying to do the same thing with Donald Trump, except Donald Trump has a legal right to hold on to these documents.
Joe does not.
So what do we do? Let's just call him old. And that was a better option. Think about it in terms of if it's kind of knowledge within the Justice Department working with the White House. It'd be one thing to be like, he's got cancer, he's got dementia. Why don't we just call him old? We'll go with old, and that'll be fine. And we'll weather stuff from there.
Right, because there's less impact if he's just old.
And then we'll let our media arm go to war on Robert Hur, and I'm sure Robert Hur was just as much in on it. Yes, make me the target. So we're all busy attacking Robert Hur.
And not paying attention to Joe Biden.
To the fact that he actually was somebody who should have been prosecuted.
And we're going to probably grease the hand. Speculation, of course. Grease the hand of Robert Hur. We'll take care of you. We're going to take care of you. You got to take the arrows on this one.
Yeah.
This is the only way to get through this.
This is the dance.
Yeah.
This is what happens in D.C.
Goodness gracious. And you wonder why people don't trust anything that comes out of Washington, D.C. Even the people that you kind of like, you don't trust.
I mean,
I certainly don't.
We were looking at it as like, oh, look at Robert Hur. I mean, he's just a civil servant. He's just trying to do the work. I can't believe they gave him this. No, Robert Hur, in my opinion, was just as much in on it. How are we going to avoid prosecuting a sitting president who actually did what we are trying to convict Donald Trump of?
Because if he had said he deserves to be punished, he needs to be punished, just like Donald Trump, just like you're going after Donald Trump. Trump actually has the authority to have even top secret documents and can declassify them at his word.
Yep.
Joe Biden can't. Here's what should happen. And no, he didn't. And he played the game.
And by the way, if you remember correctly, the story was the FBI found these documents in a couple of different places. Obviously, his garage was one, UPenn was another, all of them unsecured.
Yes.
It's not like they were at Mar-a-Lago where they were actually under lock and key.
And then, to make it even worse, we know that the FBI put labels on the things at Mar-a-Lago to make it look a particular way for a photo op.
That was the game.
That's the corruption.
And so much of then what happened, by the time we got to that debate in June, this whole facade ended up falling apart. Like, I think people started to go, wait a minute, he just said that they defeated Medicaid. He meant COVID. And a multitude of times he was so lost that you actually had the debate correspondents basically trying to point to him like, hey,
it's
look over here.
That's right.
It's your turn. It was
the female.
Yes.
What's her name?
It's Dana Bash.
Yeah, there you go.
So she was having to direct him, like where to look, what to answer. Here's what we're doing. It was so bad, and so many people saw it, that it made everything fall apart. Suddenly all the prosecutions of Donald Trump fell apart. Everything you had been told, it was like a giant red pill that you took. Like, we're talking like football-sized red pill. It wasn't like, oh, look, this is like an Advil. No, it was like a football-sized red pill that was shoved down your throat. It's like, if you didn't know, you found out. And so, but then there's, and this is what I want to get into you with, because I believe you to be you got a big heart and you're very moral.
You're very kind to say that. I appreciate it.
I always tell you, my morality,
true.
I was joking around about it. I was like, do I sometimes drive past a women's shelter to find an easier place to make the donation? Yeah. Do I sometimes pass the homeless guy and I got an extra $5 or $1 and I'm like, he'll probably drink it. So like, here's my level of where my care for my fellow man. Okay. Like, it's a little bit shakier. Like, Tug is like, what soup kitchen needs my help? Me, I'm going, here's $20. Can I get out of working at the soup kitchen? All right. Like, that's how it is. But we both share something in particular. And that is a belief that life is God-given.
Amen.
And that every single one of them are precious.
Amen.
Even when it's a politician that you do not care for.
That's right.
And you want to talk about the difference in them versus us and what they were willing to do to one of their own in Joe Biden. As we've talked about, we don't celebrate any of this stuff. You know what they spent last week doing? It actually got out, as you saw James Comey on Thursday and then into Friday. They routinely talk about killing Donald Trump. Routinely. They joke around it amongst themselves. You know what Tug and I never joke around about? Or Jerry? We never say anything about, man, I hope Joe Biden has... Ever. That's not our mentality.
Because it can't be.
But it's theirs. And that's why they were able to do what they did to Joe.
Of course,
so easily.
Because they had no...
They don't care.
They had no feeling. It didn't bother them whatsoever.
They didn't even hold the president of the United States, albeit through some pretty crazy scenarios of how he got there. They didn't even hold him in a reverence.
Couldn't have cared less.
Couldn't have cared less what they were subjecting him to. I don't know. Joe Biden's not a good guy in this scenario, but he ain't the worst bad guy in this scenario.
No, that's right. And we have said it every step of the way. I don't know how many times this morning. I take no joy in Joe Biden having dementia. I take no joy in a cancer diagnosis. I take zero joy in that. But it does not change the fact that he was a part of the most corrupt thing that's ever happened in American history.
Those first three things you said, the stuff you don't take any joy in, is completely different than how they view Donald Trump.
Put Donald Trump...
Donald Trump, cancer diagnosis,
exactly.
They're celebrating.
It would be a parade.
Now, I'm not going to say that this doesn't show up with other people on our side. I'm sure there's people you can find nuts on X that'll be like, oh, yeah,
but
finally.
Not as a whole.
It was different. Like, there were people on network television celebrating when Limbaugh died.
I remember it.
Celebrating.
That's exactly right.
It's like, that was never our mentality.
Same when Donald Trump was shot.
Yes.
Celebrated. Too bad he missed.
Had too bad they missed. They were saying it because what they do is they say it amongst themselves. It's just every now and then it's like an oops moment.
When they're really honest, when they're brutally honest.
Tug is only cursed one time on air, and he just got a little bit loose one time. And when he did it, he was like, "Oh my God!"
I dropped an S-bomb.
There are moments when I think that I have said something within the company of. Have you ever been around like some of your neighbors, and you might say something and go, "Well, they didn't really need to know about that."
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
absolutely have.
That's what happens on the left, except theirs is kill Donald Trump. Because that's what they're talking about amongst themselves. Like, hey, Dave, did you see any of the economic data? Yeah, it's looking pretty good for Trump. We're going to have to kill him. Somebody's going to have to take a shot at him.
Or at least at a minimum, I hope somebody does.
Yeah. I really hope that they don't miss next time. I mean, they say this amongst themselves. They can't say it in regular society. So when James Comey did, then he's like, oops. Because I don't know, maybe he'd had a few drinks and thought he was in a comfy place. But we've never said this. I've never once hey, I've had too many, and I'm like, good thing dementia got to Joe Biden. I've always said the same things. There are very few of these presidents. They all deserve your reverence, even when they pass on.
Here's another reason, and we brought this up recently, I guess last hour. Here's another reason that they don't have that same feeling that we do about people, whether you agree with them or not. The way the family treated Jimmy Carter on election day.
Good example.
When they pushed him out there. I've never seen that happen before in my life. You wouldn't do that to a homeless man, and they did it to the president of the United States.
And
albeit former president, he was still one of the presidents of the United States.
They used him as a get out the vote prop. Okay.
Mouth gaping open.
Looking awful. Never should you be in a scenario where somebody is willing to hurt your dignity and use you. One of the things that his son had pointed out was, Dad really wanted to vote in the election. Okay.
You could have just said that.
You could have just said that and then
press release.
Confirmed, you know what? He went and voted. He's talking about the importance of everyone in voting. You took a photo op with a man who looked like he was on death's doorstep.
And he was.
It was awful.
When my own father died, that's the thing that when I walked into the room, because he'd already passed when I walked in the room, so hard to talk about because it hurts so badly to know that the person that gave you life, the person that raised you the right way, the person that gave you every opportunity, the person that loved you when you shouldn't have been loved, had passed on. And I walk in and he had that same look that I saw with Jimmy Carter, and I could not believe, I couldn't imagine for 1 second rolling my father out of the room and going, hey, everybody, go vote. My daddy wanted you to go vote.
Hey, Dad wants you to buy more Georgia tickets.
Or whatever.
There's nothing that...
Dude, how...
that makes it okay.
There's zero that makes it okay.
Dad says buy more Girl Scout cookies.
Or go vote.
There's nothing that makes that okay. But they're, again, the difference in our sides.
That's awful, dude.
They are more than comfortable in the interest of power, and it's always power.
Give me another example of that happening anywhere around the world. Give me aside from Jimmy Carter and now Joe Biden.
But this has always been part of the mentality. And this has always been part of Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden was in a horrific situation where his wife dies in a car accident, his kids hurt, they've got all sorts of issues going on, and he shows up to the hospital and gets Hunter. It's like, put him in a suit. It's like, well, he's in a hospital bed. Put him in a suit. He's going to be part of the photo op with me taking the oath to enter into Congress, to the Senate. He did that from a hospital where his wife had just died in a car crash. His son had just been injured. And he's like, put him in a suit. They've always been like this. It just so if
human life is meaningless, and you can tell it by the way they feel about the unborn.
If Joe Biden, if this isn't like it coming full circle, and it's like, hey, Joe, it's now your turn to be used.
Oh, but he's been used.
Yeah,
you're talking about the last 4 years for sure.
Yeah,
but prior to that, probably too. But the last 4 years, they used him up like nothing I've ever seen before. Like, it should be embarrassing. If you're Jill Biden, you should have been fighting for him the entire time, and instead, you encouraged it.
All right, so the comedy end, the joke end in this ugly situation is, well, as a medical doctor, how did she not see this happening?
All right, Whoopi.
Okay, thank you, Whoopi Goldberg.
I feel like somebody's posted that.
But she was like, she's a great doctor. Why not her for, being
HHS secretary or whatever.
Like, why don't we have her being the surgeon general moving forward? Okay, that was always comedy because she's a PhD.
Okay, there's one more. And her name is, my computer just died, so I can't even pull up her name. She's the representative. It's a man.
Oh, yes. I remember the story
Sarah
here.
Something. Oh,
yeah, McLaughlin.
Whatever
Sarah,
it is.
Yeah.
She tweets out, this is a good time to remind people to go get their prostate checked. And someone quote tweeted it and said, yep, you should probably heed this advice.
It was
schedule yours.
Yes, it was Sarah McBride.
There you go, McBride. That's it.
And yes, that was the thing. Bad Hombre said, let this be a reminder. Routine prostate exams save lives. Make sure to schedule yours, Congressman.
Ugh.
Still, the comedy end of it does fulfill. But
you have to laugh at it.
Yeah.
You have to laugh at it. Because otherwise it will drive you crazy, just like anything else in life. You have to find the silver lining. You have to find
you know what I hope?
The human part of it.
I hope people don't tune out on this, because there's been large parts of what has gone on where we just go, oh, that's just kind of par for the course. That's ridiculous. That's what they've done. This is so in your face. This is so the greatest scandal. As you were bringing up, Watergate, JFK, whatever you want to go down, American scandals, Teapot Dome scandal, nothing compared to this. Nothing compares to having something this big happen in American history involving a president and power.
And I know COVID is tied to this in some ways, but COVID's another that you could add. Just the unbelievable scandal, conspiracy that COVID was, the fact that we funded it, it happened in China, and everything that came from that.
What it did is it fostered an environment for authoritarianism. As much as everyone wants to point out on the other side, Donald Trump, he's going to be a dictator. Again, what has he done? He's cut your taxes and he's talking about cutting them more. Talking about not touching your tips. It's like, tell me exactly where the authoritarianism is here. Well, ICE agents are showing up to deport people. Them's not legal citizens. All right, so explain to me the authoritarianism. It's not there. But COVID created the scenario in which case you could have a cancer-ridden, dementia-ridden Joe Biden in September of 2021 after the very failed exit from Afghanistan. In order to build back political capital, he decided to get up in front of everyone. This is week 1 of the NFL that week, going into it, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And he's like, if you don't get the shot, we're going to make sure you don't have a job. We're going to use the power of OSHA. And this is what we're doing. And we have run out of patience. COVID created the ability for authoritarianism, and the Democrats took it and ran with it like a football.
Because that's what they believe.
Yeah, they couldn't wait. They were like, oh my God, what an opportunity here.
This is like Christmas.
And by the way, we don't have to worry about our legacies being ruined. It's just his. It's just Joe's, and whatever. Joe screws everything up.
It ain't going to matter one way or another. It'll be just fine.
I'm going to make the call on this stuff. Barack Obama sitting there going, I get another term.
This is my 3rd term. Joe is going to go along with everything because he's either incapable or he knows he's guilty of everything that he's accused of and can't sidestep it. Or maybe it's a little bit of both.
This is what happens when you have somebody who's this compromised. Because they knew Joe was involved in Joe.
Of course.
And
every bit of it they all knew.
I point this out. I don't fault him. If you're looking at when he left as vice president with Barack Obama, he thought it was over. His time in the Senate, everything's over. And then there was another bite at the apple. He didn't know he was going to run for president. He's been honest as much. He's like, I didn't know I was going to run for president.
Yeah,
It'd been speculating. He told it over to Robert Hur. So they set up all of these operations to make money for the family. Joe was dead to rights guilty. So he was the perfect president for them to control, to manipulate. And oh, by the way, he wasn't functioning at a high level anyway because of multiple illnesses. He was perfect for that scenario, the perfect puppet.
It was a patsy.
It worked. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that word.
And now that everything we're trying to reverse,
Mm-hmm.
they're using the courts to make it to where it makes it more difficult.
Due process. You don't get due process. Your communities, your neighborhood don't get due process. You as an American citizen don't get due process. We're going to let 20 million people in here and they get due process because it will be impossible to undo what we did by doing so. So again, you get screwed. The American people, American taxpayer. When we continue on Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors, a home exterior solution since 1999. 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. Accountability is coming, says Cash and Dan. Next on Extra.
Wherever you are in Georgia, you can stream Extra 106.3 and crystal clear digital with the all-new Extra 106.3 app. Get Extra's live on-air stream in real time, or go back and listen to all your favorite shows, Neil Bortz, or original podcasts, no matter where you go. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
If you're thinking about a new Chevy, don't wait. Now's the time. Head to Jim Ellis Chevrolet where the price is right now.
Lock in your lowest price today before prices start to rise due to new tariffs. Shop early while inventory is strong. Right now, Jim Ellis Chevrolet has more than 400 vehicles in stock on the ground, ready to take home today. That includes the legendary Silverado, family-friendly SUVs like the Equinox, Tahoe, and Suburban, one of the largest Corvette selections in the metro Atlanta area. And if you're shopping pre-owned, you'll find a great selection of certified vehicles too, thoroughly inspected and ready to roll.
At Jim Ellis Chevrolet, you'll find exactly what you want, but don't wait too long. Get yours today before prices go up and vehicle selection goes down. No pressure, no games, just a transparent customer-first experience that makes buying easy.
And after the sale, Jim Ellis Chevrolet is still with you thanks to factory-trained technicians who will keep your Chevy running strong. For the latest offers, stop by their showroom on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard, just inside the perimeter.
Or shop anytime at JimEllisChevrolet.com. Jim Ellis Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Hey, Atlanta's Mark from the Safe House. I have a question for you. Am I the only person pissed off with the mainstream fake news, liberal judges,
and whiny liberal politicians
who don't realize why Donald Trump is president, and fake safes? And you may wonder, why fake safes? Well, a fake safe is like Joe Biden, cheap and ineffective. A real safe from the Atlanta Safe House is like Donald Trump, tough, effective, and provides peace of mind when you need it the most. So drop by Atlanta Safe House and check out the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and see what a real safe looks like. So go to AtlantaSafehouse.com.
My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
Mark your calendars because summer is just around the corner, and it's time to slide into summer at Truist Park. The Padres come to town May 23rd through the 25th, built by the Home Depot, followed by the Boston Red Sox May 30th through June 1st. Don't miss out on live music in the Battery Atlanta every Friday and fireworks after the game presented by Georgia Lottery. And on June 1st, the first 3,000 kids through the gate will receive a pool float perfect for summertime. Then the Arizona Diamondbacks will be at Truist Park June 3rd through the 5th. And the summer fun continues during the series with back-to-back giveaways June 4th and 5th, featuring the Truist Park Stadium replica and beach tote bag presented by Visit Sarasota. And make sure your kiddos head to the mini field in the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Park Family Zone to participate in the Home Run Derby each day. Visit Braves.com/promos to check out all of the fun and purchase your tickets. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves country.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can can save you thousands if you qualify. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-714-8422. 800-714-8422. 800-714-8422.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Cobb County School Board approved a $1.8 billion budget, with Superintendent Chris Ragsdale describing it as tighter than usual. Some budget concerns were raised about funding fleet maintenance of the school district's buses and over 1,000 county vehicles. The biolab facility that caught fire last September and led to shelter-in-place orders will not reopen as cleanup efforts continue. The Pool Chemical Company says they will not restart production but will continue to operate their distribution center. Biolab faces a number of lawsuits and was fined $60,000 by OSHA. And a beloved gas station chain is getting 2 more Georgia locations for your vacation drives. Buc-ee's will open the new locations in Brunswick near St. Simon's Island and another near Macon. Today's weather, partly cloudy and muggy today. Temperatures reaching the upper 80s with a possibility of scattered showers throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
9 o'clock hour brought to you by Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. 10% off any job or 12 months, 0% financing at southernexteriors.co. Just reach out to them today. Windows, doors, siding, roofing, gutters, whatever they...
CO!
CO! This is what they do down the hall on 680. It's so funny to hear Buck do it because Buck does their ads down the hall at 680. And he's like, CO! You know, he's got a proper Southern accent. I have a Appalachian accent.
That's right. His is very Southern gentleman. Yours is like
hillbilly.
Like I fell down the mountain.
That's right. Hillbilly.
Now I'm here.
That's exactly right. I don't know how to get back up the mountain. Y'all have to run me up there if you don't mind.
What are these things you wear on your feet? Those are called shoes.
I don't know what them are. And I'll have none of that. The Lord did not create them. I'll have none of it.
Walking steady.
That's right.
With his pole.
Yeah. Walk Hard. Wasn't that a play off of...
Walk Hard was based off
Dewey
of...
Cox story.
Yeah, but it wasn't...
Walk the Line.
Oh, yeah. There was something else. There was a reason that caught my attention, and now it's gone. You ever have that moment where you're like, oh, there it is, and then nothing?
Yeah, I still have something on Friday that I still haven't remembered what to tell you.
I know, right?
I was like, I'm going to remember later.
And then it never came to you.
It's gone.
Can I tell you what I've observed, what I've noticed?
Is it from Jerry?
Nope. It's from MSNBC.
Which we've had on since, about 6:45 this morning?
Yes, which we normally do anyway. So, but today specifically, you want to see how they're handling it.
Haven't done a lot.
That's exactly right. That's what I wrote down.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin that for you.
I love the fact that you knew exactly what I was going with.
I looked at it. I'm waiting for when are they going to do their big breakdown of here's this cancer diagnosis, here's what we've got. They have seemingly avoided it. It's almost as if Aunt Peg doesn't want to look at reality.
And I paid attention to it for the last 28 minutes. And I was like, this is how I know this is such a serious discussion and something that needs to be talked about by how little coverage it's getting on MSNBC. Almost zero, because they don't want to discuss it. They know this is going to be bad. Van Jones on CNN even said the Democrats are going to pay royally for what they've done over the last several years. Get this, Brian Stelter. He gets on CNN and says, that this is not that big a deal. And MSNBC, even MSNBC have had on.
It's not that big a deal.
A bunch of doctors that's told you that they've known this for a long time.
They would have had to.
There's no way. And then it goes back to they're not even covering it with any regularity. And you got Brian Stelter saying you should cover it even less.
I'm probably going to have to check out CNN, which we don't do. I look at MSNBC as, all right, here's my weather vane for, man, I'm on the right track. Especially when they won't cover something. Like, okay, we're doing it right. Or they will cover it, but they downplay the importance of these things. CNN...
usually, at least you got Scott Jennings in there to corral the crazy.
That is... All right. If I was looking to get a W, and I'm telling you, the first person that figures this out, I've already figured it out. I don't know why these networks have. The first one that takes a Scott Jennings and gives him 8 o'clock
dude, is going to be the wealthiest. They're going to be the wealthiest of the networks.
Because they will be hate watching him.
Yes, they will.
And he'll say just enough where they'll be like, oh, I like that. And then they'll hate him some more.
That's exactly right.
I don't understand how they're missing how this is going to work. By the way, they're still not touching on it. Now they're doing the Democrats Reboot, which is a book that they're into. So they haven't talked. In the last 30 minutes, they've talked about Joe Biden for 2 minutes.
Maybe. That's how you know they know how serious it is.
Yeah. That's how bad it is for them. Okay, I know we burned through it, and we've been going through we've got so much audio we just haven't gotten to on the show. There's just so many aspects of this. But I want to point this out. The Scott Jennings from Bill Maher, if you could cue that up.
Dude.
And the
so
reason
good.
why is this. Because of all of the crap, all of the lies, all of the stuff that you've dealt with when it came to Joe Biden, there is an audience out there. And it's not just conservative. There is an audience, a core audience that as they move a little bit away from, hey, I'm ultra liberal, they're like, you know what, I kind of feel like I'm pretty liberal, but these people don't really represent me any longer.
Like, I wouldn't be doing any of these things.
They're sliding closer into the middle. And so a person like Scott Jennings, who by no means am I like, that's an ultra conservative. I'm like, yeah, he's Republican. He's worked within the Republican Party. I want you to
Work for the Bushes.
Yeah, I want you to take a listen to what happens here with Bill Maher's audience, which, remember, they're preconditioned to boo or to hiss or whatever what the Republican says. Take a listen to what Scott Jennings points out about the Trump administration and the response he gets.
Now we have the Trump doctrine, which is, I think, as much of a departure as any doctrine a president has ever promulgated. Because what he is saying is, and I'll give you some of the quotes, is in the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built. This is his speech in Riyadh. Interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand. Now, I got to say, this is something people on the left said about Vietnam. Societies we did not even understand. We said it about Iraq. What are we doing here?
Something about the Republican doctrine that is fascinating to me. I've been in the party for 25 years, working in it. We've always been war and peace. I think Trump has changed it to peace and war. He talks about peace more than he talks about war. He's still hawkish enough to bomb people that need to be bombed, like the Houthi rebels. But I get the feeling he's responding to all these new inflows of constituents to the Republican Party. Maybe they were Democrats before. Maybe they weren't even political before. But they would much rather hear an American president talk about peace. And the banner in the Middle East at his rally this week said, peace through strength, which is probably one of the most enduring slogans from the Reagan era. He doesn't agree with him on everything. But on that, I think he's right. But putting peace ahead of war, pretty popular with the American people. Well, I was on the show.
As a guy that was in the Navy, I'm a fan of that.
The Bill Maher audience went wild because they were basically looking at it and saying, and they recognized it, this entire administration under Joe Biden had us on this war footing. Like, everything was being pushed this way. And I can tell you, maybe Joe felt that way. Maybe he didn't.
He had no idea.
There was a large amount of the administration that was pushing towards the start of World War III. Donald Trump has come in and has largely slowed down, stabilized, or created peace through different areas. And so when you just talk about the difference in, if you want to be honest with people, if you want to Scott Jennings them on MSNBC at 8 o'clock, I think more of them want it than they actually don't. Like, there's more people that are like, just talk to me like I'm an adult because the last administration was lying to me for 4 years.
That's because the people in charge at MSNBC don't want that.
No, they don't want you to be treated like an adult. Nope.
Treating you like an adult. And the ownership and the people that run that network hate, capital H-A-T-E, hate Donald Trump. They would never, ever, they would rather see the network collapse and not be even a thing anymore than put Scott Jennings there.
So MSNBC is going to jump into a discussion about Joe Biden and Alzheimer's. I bet you they don't even touch cancer. And they'll be downplaying what went on for 4 years. They'll be like, no, it's not. Here's what it is. He's totally fine.
He's the sharpest he's ever been. If you don't see it, they've already told you what
they've
they're
already
do.
played that
They've
game.
already showed you what they're going to do.
I'm telling you, Scott Jennings and the rest of us, the reason why when we were in a meeting with our consultant who works with our entire company, And he flat out pointed out, he's like, well, you guys are pretty hardcore conservative talk. And I was like, well, no, I consider myself an aggressive nationalist, but, okay, I'll take it. And he's like, well, this is kind of your audience. I go, sorry, right now we have the biggest tent. We have the largest amount of people. There's a reason why when you look at the amount of voters right now, they're more on our side. We're on every side right now of 80-20 issues.
Including war and peace.
Including war and peace. I'm like
the flip-flop of it, peace and war.
What I'm talking about right now, there's more people that are nodding in agreement with me than are going to the other side. And if they do, it's a very small percentage. It's 20%.
Though I don't trust the Chinese whatsoever, Donald Trump is trying to keep communication open there because he knows that is our biggest adversary in the world. And if you cut off communication, even though you know they hate you and want to destroy you, you got to keep that communication open. You have to. Otherwise, there's going to be somebody hitting buttons at some point. The Iranians. He's opened up discussion with the Iranians, knowing that they want to enrich uranium to make a nuclear weapon. We all know it. Everybody knows it. Barack Obama sent them billions of dollars knowing it. Take it a step further. When he campaigned, he said, I want to stop the war in Russia and Ukraine. And he's worked on it. Did he overshoot saying I could stop it in 24 hours? Yes. But he probably thought he could because neither side right now wants the war to come to an end. They're churning millions and millions and millions of dollars.
At least they have a deal now with Zelensky where they couldn't get one done to, okay, you needed to bridge this gap. So you're moving towards it.
They weren't even talking to him.
No.
It wasn't, under Biden, it wasn't even a discussion stopping the war.
Just keep the war going.
Push the pedal to the metal. Send him F-16. Send him all of our biggest military assets. Send him everything. So there's just 3 examples. Well, Syria. What did Donald Trump say? I'm going to lift the sanctions from the Syrians to give them the opportunity to be a part of the world, to not be what they've always been, which is just a terrorist nation. Will it fail? Maybe. But is he giving them the opportunity? Yes. He's trying peace first.
Last week was India and Pakistan.
That's right. Yes.
Or Pakistan.
Or Pakistan.
Depending if you're Barack Obama.
Yeah.
There's one after another. And peace, that resonates. Like, that is
because we all want it.
Because we all want it. That is not supposed to be a partisan issue.
It is not.
That is supposed to be fixed problems so that we don't have to send American men and women there.
Which no one wants. I certainly do not want, especially with a young man that'll be 21 in a couple months that would be right in the sweet spot for a draft. I do not want my son dying in a foreign nation over some craziness that should have been handled before it got to that point.
Afghanistan ends up being in my opinion, a very noble venture. As much as our veterans have a hard time with it because we gave it up.
It was awful.
It was awful. But what did we turn Afghanistan into? Afghanistan was the stop fighting us on our own soil. We'll fight you on your backyard.
We're going to fight you over there. Absolutely.
And that's what it turned. It turned into we ensured American security for 20 years, for a generation, by taking the fight over there. Now, did it end the way we wanted? No.
And the cost was very high.
But that was what we had the stomach for after what happened out of 9/11.
Sure.
By the way, you'll like that. The Netflix series, I started that the other night. It's the Bin Laden one. And the amount of data they actually get into that's really like the background stuff.
Is it the intel?
So good. Yeah. Like you had the people that were working within the CIA talking about, like at one point when Washington's under attack and they're getting credible evidence that here's the area that's going to be hit, they flat out are like, well, I'm at my post and we've all just decided like if they hit us, we're dead. But it was really well done. But
we're willing to.
This is what we're willing to do.
Sacrifice for our nation.
But that's where,
which takes incredible bravery.
When you tell me about war and peace is always going to be preferable.
That's why you flip flop it, peace and war.
But peace and war, the idea that we're going to strive for this before we ever strive for the other, that is different than what the neocons and the warlocks want.
That's because Dick Cheney was making millions
every time,
and the Democrats just did it with biolabs. And whatever, they use different means. That's all. That's the only difference.
To think that the remnants of the Biden administration what was left of them, because remember, you had Kamala Harris bring in her own people, and they reportedly clashed with one another.
Yeah, couldn't stand each other.
But the remnants of the Biden administration were like, hey, you know what? If you bring in Dick Cheney, that might work for y'all.
Yeah, or at least his daughter.
And then, well, remember, Dick Cheney was endorsing Kamala Harris. I was like, oh, so like the greatest war hawk we've had in a generation.
Right. But then his daughter, remember, they brought his daughter in to be go on campaign stops.
Go on campaign stops.
It was unbelievable.
What a wild time.
Had you not seen it with your own eyes, if somebody would told you 6 months ago or a year ago that was going to happen, you'd be like, no way.
We got the biggest tent.
Not a chance.
I'm speaking to the biggest audience, the biggest tent, because we are speaking about things logically. And that includes sometimes having to give you the hard truths. And we got a whole lot of hard truth over the weekend.
And we shared it all this morning.
40 minutes, and now they're on to escaped New Orleans inmates. Still no discussion about Biden, cancer, or Alzheimer's. Or dementia. Or
won't be there. It won't be there.
Wow. So surprised from MSNBC.
But you're not really. You're not really. You're saying that. You're not
it's
really.
It's the biggest story in the country. It's one of the biggest stories in the history of this government.
But for them, we have to hide it. We can't be frank. We can't be honest. We can't tell the hard truth. They can't do that, Los. They can't. The few people that they have left would be gone.
If we were just being very honest and saying, hey, looks like the former president, got a piece of information that is going to ensure death very soon, and you don't have any of that?
The viewers they have left would be gone if they talked about it. It's the truth. It makes no sense, but it's the truth. When we continue on Extra 106.3, let's bring this ship in and land it on a positive note. Something I think you'll enjoy after a weekend full of crazy news when it came to the previous administration, the callousness of that entire administration and everything they did to America. We're going to end on a smile next on Extra.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
That's right. Let's end with a smile. All right, this is Front Office Los. Let's talk about Tom. Now, who's Tom? Well, you've heard the ads for the Honest Car Guy. 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1 or honestcarguy.com. Now you're asking, what makes it so different? I've been through this process with Tom. I actually sat at my computer. He took me on to his. We did that whole sharing of the screen thing. And he did a very simple scenario. Name a make and model of a vehicle you're interested in. And that's what you do when you contact him. You just let him know, here's what I'm interested in. Here's what I need mileage-wise. Color, whatever you want to come up with. Tom is going to find that vehicle for you. He's got an entire network. You can go through any of the different sites that are out there. He can go through any of the car auctions that he has access to. This is not just let me just call somebody and let's see what he's able to do. Tom's got so many years in the marketplace that he has all the connections to find you the vehicle you want. Then here's the cool part. All those crazy fees that you get through the dealership, none of them are attached to when Tom gets that vehicle for you. You will see every step in the process. He'll show you where you're saving. And by the time we purchase that vehicle, you will then just owe Tom an honest fee. That's it. You will then do the math and go, wow, I saved thousands of dollars in the transaction. That's how it works with Tom, the Honest Car Guy. All right, what do you do from here? Go to honestcarguy.com. That's honestcarguy.com or 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, May 19th. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 in Boston over the weekend against the Red Sox. That included a big 10-4 win yesterday afternoon. The Braves are now off tonight. They continue the road trip tomorrow in D.C. against the Washington Nationals. From the NBA, Game 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder are moving on to the Western Conference Finals after beating the Denver Nuggets 125-93. The final, the Thunder will now match up with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That series will begin on Tuesday night. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
There are nut jobs on the road. Who knows where they learn to drive? If one of them hits you, don't take care of it on your own. Call my friend David Van Sant, 855-GA-INJURY. Van Sant Law, one of Georgia's top-rated personal injury lawyers and car accident firms. Time is of the essence. Don't waste any. The longer you wait to get the right lawyer, the longer it takes to get the compensation you deserve. Call Van Sant Law today. The number is 855-GA-INJURY. VanSantLaw.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300
Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
This is House Call for Health. May is Lupus Awareness Month. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention describes it as a long-term autoimmune disease that affects many parts of the body and has many different symptoms and signs, making it a difficult disease to diagnose. The most common symptom is fatigue, always feeling really tired, which can impact both physical and mental health, in turn affecting your quality of life. Other symptoms include swelling or pain in muscles and joints, skin rashes, including a butterfly-shaped face rash, hair loss, fever, and frequent mouth sores. There are also less common symptoms like sensitivity to the sun, heart, lung, or kidney issues, fingers or toes turning blue or white or feeling numb, mental health conditions, even eye damage. Lupus has no cure, but can be treated and managed using medicine and making lifestyle changes. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's a camera. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
The best way in America to help the poor is to not be one of them. Stay in school. Get a job. Stick with it. Don't get pregnant with a baby you can't afford to raise. The roadmap is there. Learn to read maps.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los on the Morning Xtra on Extra 106.3.
Can I sidebar you?
Yes, please.
Before we jump into our last conversation here.
Put a smile on your face.
So if you are into treasure hunt, now treasure hunt, I've talked about this in the past. Costco has this program called Treasure Hunt. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they will buy a limited supply of an item.
Yep.
And
as
every
a loss leader.
Every Costco does it, yes. Basically what they'll do is, let's say that it might be really nice watches. It might be like typically $300 watches. And they will pay, let's say, $180, $200 to buy the last remnants of these watches out. And they put them on their store shelves, and it might be like $220. And so you're like, man,
that's an $80 discount.
This is like $80 off.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why they do it is they're encouraging you to stop by the store more regularly because the average Costco customer goes through one time a month. If they get you to go through 2 times a month,
they just earn some more money.
That's how they're going to make more money. So they have what they call a treasure hunt. It's encouraging you to just come through. Man, yesterday I hit the jackpot.
Whoa.
So these are Greg Norman, the Shark. They have the stretchy shorts, the nice golf shorts.
Yep.
Now, normally these are like $50. Or if you want the dark ones, if you went to like Amazon and like, oh, I want these, I want them in like dark blue. They're like $60. $17.
Let's go.
Nice.
Look at these bad boys.
Oh, these are them.
I can do kung fu in these.
Dude, look at those things. They're amazing.
Look at that.
Dude, look at that backside. That's ample.
Yeah.
That's an ample backside.
That's right.
there.
They look good in this thing right here. Like everything looks like okay. And they're nice and stretchy and they're super comfortable. You tell me where you can find a $50 short for $17.
Ain't many places.
Costco.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, I don't know if your location will have it, but...
Well, no, because they all have something different.
They might have a lot of them just for the time being, but when they're gone, they're gone.
And I don't know the answer to this. This is a genuine question. Does Walmart, do they, like Sam's Club, do they do that? Do they use those as loss leaders? Have they copied that?
I don't know if Sam's Club does. We were
BJ's
Sam's Club
or any of those?
members like 20 years ago. And then we moved to Windward Parkway, and then suddenly... All right, Windward Parkway, there's a Costco right there. And so we've been Costco members ever since. But yeah, no. I think I've, my nicest watch, my best pair of pants. And I don't wear pants very often. So, like the once-a-year jeans.
Yeah.
I mean, look at these Calvin Kleins.
Dude.
He's like $250.
The shirt that I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Today. The old Adidas polo, just plain white Adidas polo.
Yeah.
Came from Costco.
In this case, my $50 shorts, they're not $50.
It's getting so warm, I might have to go up to Costco. I'm going to start joining Carlos on the shorts train.
$17.
I don't know if I've ever done it. I don't know if I've ever done it, so I may break it in this year.
Telling you,
shorts to work.
So there's I've never seen you I would worry because I've never seen him in shorts. I would worry that his legs are so shiny they would blind us.
They're as white as the background on that San Antonio Missions
wow.
page.
It's like, can we see through him? Look at his bones.
Like a damn X-ray walk.
I did do that yesterday too. The wife and I, for the first time, went up to the neighborhood pool.
Dude,
get a little sun, just sit out for a little while.
Nice.
So nice yesterday.
Because our neighborhood jacked up the price so much that we couldn't even afford to join the pool. So we didn't, but all day, all weekend, not just all weekend, I was like, I wish we could go to the pool. I'd make me up a rum drink and sit there. And
if we have decent weather this week, or even the weekend, I'm not even sure what we have going on. I don't think it's too much. I mean, it's a holiday weekend. If y'all are around, I'd be like, hey, come up. Like a Friday evening, maybe Saturday, we'll figure something out.
There's got to be a stop at Good Old Days, too. There's that.
Okay, well, then we'll do that, Jerry. You got to. Listen, I got a Jerry room.
You're going to have one because that's a long way back to Woodstock.
I get it. No, it's a Jerry room. It's going to be, Jerry, you're staying the night over. This is what we're doing. And here's the Jerry room. And
surely we have some listeners who are some Uber drivers or something like that. People who are in the car a lot. They want to give their favorite board up a ride back to Woodstock.
Or unless you got it like a dog that you have, because that's the thing.
I'm taking care of it's funny you mentioned the pool. As you were saying that, I got a text from my girlfriend. She sent me a picture of her. She's at the pool right now in Florida because she's down there for a conference, and she doesn't have to be to a meeting until later.
That's perfect.
God bless her.
So I'm taking care of the dog all week.
Okay, all right. So it might be a little tough, but yes, this I like where this is trending. I like where everything's
going
headed.
to the right place.
Yeah,
but to wrap it all back, this
Costco
means that I am not spending my evenings watching Housewives or whatever she wants to watch. I am watching NHL playoffs. And Los, you put something in the notes that made me so very happy.
Yes, I did. By the way,
you're driving it back to the content.
I did watch Game 6
every now and then.
of Stars in Winnipeg.
Right. Yeah, kicked out the Snow Mexicans. It makes me so happy when American teams beat Canadian teams in hockey.
The President's Cup winner is now out, but this information came down over the weekend. This ended up breaking on Friday. Breaking after a pending approval on June 11th, Vernon Krause will meet with the NHL to provide completed documentation on the planned arena project. In a recent Forsyth County News article, Carl Hirsch, managing partner at Stafford Sports, discussed the timeline of an NHL return to Georgia. The Forsyth County Board of Commissioners and other public stakeholders anticipate a vote on the final draft of the development and operating agreement in a special called meeting on June 11th. So we're talking about less than a month now. Following that approval, Vernon Krause will meet with the NHL to deliver the arena agreement and reiterate his desire for a team. It will be up to the NHL to decide how to proceed. The plan would hopefully to have a team back here by 2028, 2029.
So it doesn't matter to me whether it's on the front side of the neighborhood or the back side of the neighborhood, but because I'd seen this over the weekend too, and I'd wondered because I keep hearing out of Alpharetta, the North Point, because they're still fighting.
North Point location.
They're still fighting. And it, like I said, doesn't matter. It's either going to be the front of the neighborhood or the back of the neighborhood. Doesn't matter to me which one. But does this one seem like it's progressed further? Because it almost seems like this is like, hey, man, we got all the boxes checked, where they're still fumbling around on North Point.
From what I understand, the difference, and please, anybody at front office Los, this is just what I'm getting because obviously I live in Forsyth County, so I'm getting this version of it. One, obviously, Forsyth County versus Fulton County, and that's a factor. But you are working on undeveloped land, whereas you would have to jump through more hoops for North Point.
Yeah, because you're going to have to tear things down. You're going to have to redirect everything. Where in Forsyth, you just build it the way you want it.
It's wide open. It's a grassy area right now. And so the discussion point has also been that there is, and this is, again, somebody help me if I'm wrong, because of what you have in the Alpharetta area in terms of concerts, concert venues, this initially is going to be a concert venue.
Right.
That's what the plan is. And that there is concern about whether or not that hurts some of the business in the area. If you start hurting like Ameris Bank or anything else.
And you would.
And you would because you would be
cannibalizing yourself.
Yeah. Whereas like, okay, I got it indoor 17,000, seats, outdoor, 10, 12,000. In Forsyth County, there's no place like that as far as the size of a venue.
Yeah.
But we get puck. We get
it's
NHL puck in Atlanta.
It's getting closer. And by the way, the argument has always been, just like with the Atlanta Braves, when they moved north of the city, not that far north. I mean, you can throw a rock and hit downtown.
That's right.
But now that the primary amount of stakeholders, the people that have season tickets, don't have to go through downtown, don't have to go south of town, boom, everything's blown up. And the talk has been, what if you have hockey more accessible to the core audience, which is the northern suburbs?
Give it to me.
Jackpot. Buddy, we'll have Jeray ready to move up that way. He'll be leaving Woodstock.
Come on,
abandoned in Woodstock. That'll do it for us. Thank y'all for being here. Y'all come back now. You hear?
The only thing better than covering all these Trump wins is watching the left implode over it.
Donald Trump, he's entertaining the world while he's changing the whole freaking planet.
Xtra 106.3 is committed to bring you the news you care about most. From Atlanta legends and conservative voices you've relied on for a generation. Proud to be Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station. Xtra 106.3 FM and the Xtra app.